That was good timing. My goodness, I didn't even mean to do that. Welcome. We have a countdown now. Can you believe that? This system is super cool. Also, if you can notice, and you've been here a few times, you may notice that I have a silver microphone and not a black microphone. So that means the microphone has been replaced. So please let me know in the comments below, because I got a bunch of comments about my microphone being horrible, and I'm very sorry. The thing is, I can't, right now, I can only hear myself. I don't hear myself through the headphones. I only hear myself through the headphones outside, if that makes sense. So it sounds like nothing. So give me a thumbs up or something if I sound decent, better, or better than ever. Let me know. So I wasn't planning on coming live today. Rach Talk was not scheduled. Sort of like Rachel Hollis's Rach Talk. It just pops up just randomly whenever there's a dull moment. There's no schedule or anything. Oh yeah, thank you. You like my Photoshop? I really took the time to smooth the edges out of this backdrop. Okay, good. I'm seeing people say that that sounds good. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So, like I was saying, that I wasn't going to do a live stream today, but I just happened to see, as I was driving to Chick-fil-A for breakfast this morning, that Rachel Hollis came out with her part 2 of her podcast, Let's Talk About Money, part 2. And if you were here last time for the breakdown of part 1, there was a lot to discuss. This one's shorter, so it's not as long, thank God, because I feel like we were analyzing and talking about it forever. This one's shorter. It's very similar. I did listen to it already once this morning, and I was getting pissed off as I was listening to it, and I started to go on my Instagram and write stories about all the stuff that she was saying that I disagreed with, and I'm like, all right, I have time today. Let me just go live and we can discuss it and talk about it and kind of follow up on the part 1 that we've already done as a collective live stream. So thank you. Sounds great. Okay. Glad. Okay. Oh, thank you, everybody. You guys are so nice. And I'm going to try to pull the comments. Now I'm getting a little bit better with the system. I use Ecamm Live, so I'm getting a little bit better. So I should be able to pull comments a little bit faster than before. So keep the comments coming. I should be able to see them. And I always go back and try to read them all. So I do appreciate the comment section, because you guys kind of have your own conversations, which I think is really cool and helps me for the next time when I need things to talk about and things that you guys brought up that I didn't catch. So I always appreciate it. So I will go on from here into the next scene. All right. So still in the Rach Talk studio. So like I said, we're going to listen to the whole thing. We'll cut out the commercials because the commercials are BetterHelp, which is a controversial app for mental health, which I pretty sure I do not agree with. So we're going to skip that. And we're going to skip her thrifting online store that she's now promoting because she's eco-friendly. But just to recap part 1, basically Rachel says that your mind controls your bank account. And if you think you're poor, well, that's probably because you think you're poor, not because of any other circumstances that may be in your way, holding you back from financial success, including workplace discrimination, where you were born, did you have money to go to college? None of that matters, guys. None of that. It's only thinking positively or negatively that affects the money in your bank account. So that was part 1. That was part 1 in a nutshell. Something that you'll see in part 1 or here in part 1 and in part 2, a lot of talk about the boyfriend again. We know you have a boyfriend, Rachel. We know. He's English. We know. He's brought up several times in this one. He was also in the second one, or in the first one. And I think that's so interesting. She said before, I will never, ever make the mistake again of bringing my relationship to my social media, to my brand. But literally at every turn, we hear more information about the boyfriend. And I see someone says, what's your Instagram handle? What a wonderful question that is. Thank you. This is my plant that I've put in here to get you guys to follow me on Instagram. just kidding. Here's Rachel. We're going to be talking about this picture in particular in a little bit, but my Instagram is as follows: Kia's World YT for YouTube, because Kia's World apparently was already taken. I don't know. I don't want to search it because it's probably some sort of spam account, but Kia's World YT. I have about 300 followers. I would love for you to become 330. You and you alone. I'm going to have my parasocial relationship real quick. You at home, yeah, you, put down the noodles and go on Instagram and follow me right now, because we're going to be best friends forever, and I'll be at your wedding, and I love you. That's what all these self-help people sound like to me. Okay, well, now that that's over, let's go to the Rachel Hollis podcast, the Bible of all podcasts. Thank you guys for being here. We need financial success. Yes, we do. Everyone needs financial success. Poverty is a mindset, as Rachel would say. Finding a rich boyfriend / husband, inconsequential. She would have had money without the boyfriend / husband. We know it. We just know it in our hearts and in our souls. All right, here we go. Part 2 begins now.
I'm your host, Rachel Hollis, but you can call me Rach. I am back this week with the second part.
I'm already going to restart it. And the only reason is because I think it's important that she's telling us to call her a different name, Rach.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to another week of the podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Hollis, but you can call me Rach.
Okay, I know that was the first 9 seconds of the podcast, but she also says y'all, and I made fun of Dave for saying y'all in his Instagram post about leaving the internet. So I also have to give her a little grief. I got a lot of comments back saying that people from all over the world and countries say y'all, but I still like to point it out that she's from California. They've lived in Texas for like a couple years, and all of a sudden y'all is used very often in their delivery and introductions. And also she says, you can call me Rach. So I was thinking that perhaps this is some sort of rebrand, because she goes through phases where she says, hey, I'm Rachel Hollis. Okay, then she's Rachel. Then all of a sudden she's, oh, I'm Ray Ray. Ray Ray was a name she used for a while. Then it was Rach. Then it was Big Sister Rach. And now we're back to Rach again. So I feel like, and it seems like there's a pattern. She comes out with a nickname, so Rach, for example. Then she starts doing Rach Talk for 5 or 6 episodes. Then she has some sort of live event that you can buy into. And then she disappears when it doesn't succeed. And then she comes back with new identity, tries again. I mean, in a way, I think it's kind of good, I guess, because she doesn't give up. I mean, that is a lesson to learn. Don't give up, keep trying. But also, when you're the brand and you just keep lying to people about who you are and it lacks authenticity, it's like you're going to run out of people to fool after a certain amount of time. Anyways, all right, so we're going to listen to the Rach Hollis podcast. Continuing now.
I'm back this week with the second part of this series on money, finances, wealth, all the words surrounding this topic, and got some really, I think, cool things to consider and chat about today. But I just want to encourage you, this conversation is a 2-parter. So if you have not listened to last week's episode, please go back and check that out, because that really was the foundation of today's conversation. Just as a recap, we really dove into the idea that the finances you have in your life, the amount of money you have, or the amount of debt, or the way you feel about money and finances and wealth and anything else, is typically very tied to what you were taught to believe about those things as a child. And if you don't do the work to unpack them, you can unintentionally sabotage yourself when it comes to finances. So that was last week's conversation, and I hope you'll go give it a listen before you jump in here.
So if you watched the last live stream that I did about part 1, you already kind of heard the whole thing that she said, she kind of talked about that, I guess, about your childhood. She almost in this explanation of part 2 really gets away from the manifestation part and the blame part that she really focused on, I think, in part 1, where it's like, if you don't have money, it's probably because you think you deserve it for some reason. I can't disagree more with that analysis that she made. And this explanation, she's almost saying whatever you were taught as a child, you have to unlearn those lessons. And I think that's more accurate, not a full picture of why people struggle with finances completely. And like we said before, if your parents were poor, you are more likely to stay in that cycle of poverty because, as a lot of people will say, it's expensive to be poor. It's very hard and it is rare. That's why people celebrate it when it happens. For someone who was born into low income, or a single mom struggling to survive, et cetera, to get out of that, because it's much easier just to stay, or you have to stay home to help your family, survive during those early years. You never get out to go to college. You never get to move past that initial stage of working and whatnot. So it's not a mindset necessarily. It's how much money you need immediately versus how much money you can think about earning in the future. For example, for 4 years in college, you have to kind of decide or know, okay, I need to rely on loans, I need to rely on my parents, I need to rely on a part-time job. It's very rare that people can go to school full-time and also make a full-time salary and do well at both. It's possible, but it's unlikely and probably not a fun experience. So, I think she kind of took the lesser controversial route when recapping part 1, but she goes right off the edge pretty shortly after that. So let's continue.
We're going to continue our chat about this. Hi, I'm Rachel Hollis, and this is my podcast. I spend so many hours of every single week reading and listening to podcasts and watching YouTube videos and trying to find out as much as I can about the world around me. And that's what we do on this show. We talk about everything, life and how to be an entrepreneur. What happened to dinosaurs? What's the best recipe for fried chicken? What's the best plan for intermittent fasting? What's going on with our inner child? How's therapy working out for you? Whatever it is my guests are into, I want to unpack it so that we can all understand. These are conversations. This is information for the curious. This is the Rachel Hollis Podcast.
Okay, so first, thank you, JV, for the super sticker. I very much appreciate it. And it says, I guess it describes what the super sticker says. So it's a pear character flying in the air with a red cape and a smile on his face. So thank you very much. That's what I see on my end, but I'll go back and see the actual emoji shortly. So I wanted to play the intro because I usually skip it when it comes to the podcast because it's repetitive, but I think it's important to play it this time because we haven't talked about it since it was updated. So she's updated it throughout the years. I listened to a podcast from 2020, I believe, or 2019 recently from her because she also talks about money with that one. She's talking to Marie Forleo about how they love talking about money and making money and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't that interesting, so I don't necessarily think I'll use it in a live stream, but I listened to it and the intro was, I made a multi-million-dollar company with only a high school diploma and I'm going to tell you how to be an entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. So she focused on the business aspect. Now she's changed the podcast to what happened to dinosaurs? What's best fried chicken recipe, and she's made it much more, but also then putting in some psychological terms. What's your inner child like? How's therapy going for you? Intermittent fasting. So she's talking about more new age style things, along with I'm just an innocent, former blogger who's going to talk about fried chicken recipes. But the groundwork is already there. She's laying it out very smoothly and I think a little bit cautiously to become new age hippie Rachel, that it seems like the path that she's going on and she's going to start to try to capitalize on very shortly with some sort of retreat. She's talking about meditations a lot. So I just envision that's going to be her brand, the Rach Hollis brand. And maybe she'll even become Rach period, like no last name, because I'm sure she wants to get rid of Hollis at this point. And honestly, it would probably help her brand if she could totally reset and start over. I don't think it's possible, but she does. So, I mean, that's all that really matters, because she'll probably try to come back into that world of some sort. Yeah, the one part too about the dinosaurs, like where did dinosaurs go? Do we not know that already? Like, we pretty much have a good grasp on that. I don't think we need the Rachel Hollis podcast to let us know what happened to the dinosaurs. I don't think she's going to take a controversial stance on evolution anytime soon. Maybe she will, but I don't think she put that in her podcast, because it could turn off some of the followers to still buy her journals and such. Yeah, this is way better. It's from the New Age to the Stone Age. Rach Hollis coming to you live from my podcast studio. I love that. Yeah, again, the dinosaur thing. Like, who wants her to talk about that? Apparently everyone in her world, in her mind, but actually no one. I think the more broad a topic is, a podcast is, you appeal to less and less people. You think like, well, if I'm really broad, I'll just appeal to everyone because everyone can relate to dinosaurs. But in reality, I think you really end up kind of appealing to no one. It's like, no one really wants to hear about your opinion on what happened to the dinosaurs, Rachel. And thank you, Oscar. Oh God, this is big. Okay, let's see. Thank you, Oscara Rios. Maybe. Thank you for the super chat. I love and enjoy your content so damn much. Kia, thank you for your time and work. Your commentary is hilarious and spot on. Your videos make my days better and way more tolerable. Choose sadness. Yes. Woo, woo, woo. Well, you are welcome. I'm glad I could be of service. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm trying to figure it out, and I appreciate the support as always. And choose sadness. I'm getting more merch sent to me so I can show off. Like, I got stickers and I got a mug and something else. So it's coming soon. We're almost at 10,000. We're so close. It's happening. Very, very close. And then I can release it, because I could technically release it early, but the integration through YouTube doesn't work until I have 10,000. So I figured it would be a good kind of milestone to try to hit anyways. And then I could build some hype about the Choose Sadness merch. But I love it. It's so fun. I wear it. I have a sweatshirt and a long sleeve shirt. I wear it all the time. So it will be available very soon. So thank you, Oscar. I'm sorry, I messed up your username, but thank you very much for the super chat. All right, let's continue talking about dinosaurs and where they went.
You know, I was preparing to, I was like doing notes and kind of writing things out in my notebook today to have this conversation with you today. And I said it last week and I couldn't remember which episode it was, but episode 227 and 229 is a 2-part series on what we manifest. So if you haven't listened to those, I really want to encourage you, go bookmark them. You can jump in after this conversation or whenever you have time, but it really is a better look at what we manifest throughout our lives, not just financially. And it might give you some meat to chew on to take a deeper dive here. But essentially, I wanted to do a podcast on this topic because, number one, I don't think it's something that women talk about enough. If you were raised in a similar home that I was, you were probably raised that it was inappropriate or rude to talk about money. And I think that really does a disservice to our children because they sure as hell are not teaching finances in school. Like the fact that I had to learn algebra, but nobody taught me how to do my taxes. The fact that I still remember Pythagorean theorem, but nobody taught me the difference between checking and savings and how to set a budget for myself. Like really critical life skills that nobody teaches us in school. But yes, let's please talk about the history of the state of Texas.
Okay, so this part is when I was not hating the podcast episode so much. I thought like maybe this part 2 might be a little better than part 1, but then it quickly goes off the rails. And I think it's important to note that just because you disagree with something doesn't mean that the extreme alternative is the right answer. And I mean that when she talks about in school, they don't teach kids about finances and they don't teach them about how to do taxes and whatever. I totally agree. I think there's a huge gap between real life skills and what they teach in school. And I think part of it is on purpose, to be quite honest, because I think if people were more educated, then there might be less of a way to have businesses be predatory towards you. And I think a lot of businesses run on a predatory system, short-term loans, taking out lines of credit that you can't afford, like what happened in 2008 with the housing crash. I mean, that was all because people weren't educated about what they could actually afford, and that was encouraged at least in the United States, for these people who couldn't afford it to take out these huge loans and dream about having this big house, and then it came crashing down. I think part of that reason is why we don't teach it in schools. Part of it is funding, because teachers aren't being trained in the college setting to teach finances, and people who work in finance are probably not interested in working at a public school making $40,000 at the most, probably, starting out at least, a year. So there's a lot of issues. However, so I agree with her there. Point for Rachel. However, I do not agree that the alternative, that you should now learn about manifesting money and believing in the universe providing for you, is the alternative solution that's going to provide a lot of results that are great and amazing and, is the solution to this problem. So that's when I go, not an agreement there. And I think also when she mentions that at the end, she's like, well, learning about the state of Texas or the history of Texas is not worthwhile. I don't know. I think they're all worthwhile. I think all education is worthwhile. And when are you if you don't learn about it in school, the history of Texas or your state or your local government or whatever, when are you going to learn it? There's more of a chance that you can learn about your taxes and about finance later in life, but going back and learning the history of where you live is probably less likely. So I think it needs to all be incorporated, but her solution sucks, in my opinion. Manifesting money is not a solution to teaching your children about finances. And I think also, side tangent, there's a big difference between talking about finances and how to be financially healthy and secure, and the alternative of being braggadocious or being boastful about how much money you make. Some people may disagree. I don't think, man or woman, it's appropriate to talk about your finances in a braggadocious way. I think it's obnoxious for the most part. I think it makes people feel bad. It makes them feel insecure. I think usually if someone's talking about how much money they make in a setting where it's inappropriate, meaning like a friendship or some sort of situation at work where you're not, I think at work you can talk about it because it's important to know how much you should ask for. But outside of there, I don't know if I believe that it should be talked about, because it just makes people feel a certain way. Whether you feel better than that person or worse, I think it does kind of intrude on social interactions. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. I know that's a little bit nuanced, I guess, but I don't think if I was to go up to all my friends and tell them, I made $20,000 last year, extra bonuses, and I got this, just whenever anyone tells me that, I always feel bad about myself. So maybe it's a me thing, but I think knowing about how to be financially stable, how to save, how to put money into your 401k, those types of things are much different than being boastful and very open about how much money you make. Okay, that's my rant. And thank you, little Anina, little Anina, for the super chat. She says, my first time watching. Well, welcome first timer. A live chat, and just want to say thanks for all the entertainment and for calling these self-help gurus out. Anytime, anywhere. It's as fun for you as it is for me. Trust me, I have a lot of pent-up anger issues, so this is a great way to release them. All right, so let's continue.
Super important. It's just wild. It's super wild. But yeah, I didn't grow up in a home that talked about it, and so I really came into my adulthood very confused or with really limited views on how to handle my finances, and that definitely made me fearful. That fear caused me to make some significant financial mistakes in my life. And hey, guess what? That's how we learn. But I also just feel like it would have been so much better to learn. I wish my parents had known. They didn't. And I wish they had known so they could teach me. And even now in conversations with friends, whatever your culture was definitely influenced what you thought about money. So my intention here is to help us to feel more comfortable with this conversation. And I am not, if you didn't listen to last week's, I'll tell you, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not going to tell you how to invest. I don't have any tips. I don't have any money savings tips. That's not it. This is really a big
So why are you doing this podcast? I feel like, and I put this on my Instagram, it's almost infantilizing to say, well, men, or other places have, information about finances and how to invest and tips on money and whatever. This is not the place. This is for women. And for women, our financial literacy starts with believing in the universe. It's like, oh God, it's like, no wonder we're struggling. And I say we as a woman, I feel like, I guess I should speak for myself, but I am a woman, in case you didn't know. I struggle with finances, and this is something that I can connect to because I run a business and I struggle with what to charge. And my biggest pet peeve, I swear, the biggest pet peeve is that when people say, when I ask the question, I've asked this of many people, people in the business or whatever, what do I charge? They will say, what you're worth. What does that mean? What does that mean? Literally, what you're worth? I don't know. I'm worth a zillion, trillion, fillion yen. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to get it. So how about we find a way to, and this is a job for people. They know what to charge for. Like, why does a Big Mac cost, oh God, I have no idea. I don't buy a Big Mac. $2.50. I have no idea. $5. Why does it cost what it costs? Well, there's labor, there's price of goods, there's transportation, there's whatever. Someone figures that out, right? But I need that person, not the person who's going to tell me to strap up my bootstraps and, just believe in myself and charge what you're worth. Like, that doesn't mean anything. But it's so easy for someone who doesn't have any actual skills. That's like easy advice to give. It's like, if someone was to come to me and say, I'm depressed, what do I do? And I said, go take a walk. Go take a walk. It's a good idea. Like, the sun's out there. You can feel good. Endorphins, like Legally Blonde said, it feels like exercise is good for you. Okay, but that's not going to cure anyone's depression, and they should probably go to an expert to get that advice. So Rachel's saying she's not going to give any financial tips. Well, I'm glad, because she doesn't have any expertise. But why even do the podcast in the first place? It's just it's clickbait to get people, because a lot of people are desperate for money for multiple reasons. Not believing in themselves is not one of them, but for many reasons. And this to me is like almost like a clickbait title to get people to think that she's going to teach them how to make $1 million business, when in reality she's going to tell you, like, just believe more and just hope that it works out more. And the one thing she said that I thought was interesting, which I don't know what she's referencing, other than maybe her whole business going down the tank, which was not a financial problem as much as it was a PR problem that she had. She's like, I had a huge financial mistake and I learned from it. Of course, anything she's going to bring up that was a mistake for her, she's learned from. But, and you learn from it and you just recover. Most people, when they fail at a business and they have a huge financial issue, there's no more trying, at least in that business. If a restaurant screws up royally, doesn't make the revenue that they need to, they close. And then they have to find a different path forward. It's not common, as in Rachel Hollis's case, where you can fail and then rely on your husband's Disney salary. I just want to put that out there once again, that having the runway to take 20 years to have a successful business is a privilege if I've ever heard one. It is not the norm. Most people, if you live in any city in the United States, you've probably seen 100 restaurants come and go in the last 10 years, if not more, depending on the size of your city. And that happens way more often than a successful business starts, takes off, and continues to grow. That's why it's so rare. Okay, let me look at the comments for a second. Yes, I totally agree, Shelly. She acts like she's an expert in everything, but in reality, she's an expert in nothing. She's an expert in her own life. I don't know why she doesn't just write. I guess like what she wants to do, honestly, from what it seems like, is write autobiographies just in different parts of her life. She just wants to write a journal, but she also wants to make money from it. And you can't do that unless you give advice using your own story. So I think her real drive and ambition is just to tell people about herself, to get her name out there, to become a remembered figure on earth. But she knows the rules tell you, or the experts will tell you, no one cares about you. They want to know how it affects them. So if I'm telling you about my life, it has to connect to you and your life at some, depth for it to, connect. So, but then she also uses all her own stories. So if she's telling you how to have a great relationship, she really just wants to tell you, oh, I have an amazing marriage, because she's insecure probably about her marriage. But then she's going to put, well, here's how to have a good marriage like me, so that she can sell it and convince you that this is information worth hearing. So, I guess it worked, for a time. But like I said, we talked about yesterday, last time we had the stream, I don't think she has a company of very many employees. If any employees left, she might have hired like a team that's a separate company, like a third party, because it looks like they got rid of their physical space in Austin. On LinkedIn, it looks like everyone that worked for Hollis Company is looking for a job right now. So I think she's kind of almost running solo, and she'll actually kind of touch on that in a little bit. But it's interesting.
Wider sort of macro view of how can we embrace this concept more fully. My boyfriend is English, and I remember when we first started dating, we were talking about money, and at this stage in my life, I'm very comfortable. I talk about finances. I talk about revenue. I'm very open with my friends who are entrepreneurs. This is how much I made last year. This is the mistakes that happened. This is like, we'll just talk about it all, because I learned a long time ago that if you were surrounding yourself with people who were at your level of financials, or even better, sort of where you want to be financially, and you can have an open, honest conversation, you can learn so much. So I remember.
Okay, so first reference, unnecessary reference to her English boyfriend. Number one, if you have your tally sheets, that's the first one. Just to say that she is comfortable talking about finances with her boyfriend. Okay, cool, I guess. I think, if you're in a serious relationship with someone and potentially going to, marry them at some point, that's probably great advice to talk to your significant others about your finances. But her secondary advice in that, soliloquy or whatever monologue that she says is, talking to people who make more money than you, being open about your revenue and finances. They can teach you and help you so much. This is directly contradictory to what she said at Rise, and I think at in a podcast episode 2, where she said that people above her in the personal development world misled her completely. They told her never to take her foot off the gas, but she was just a hippie at heart, needed a break, and wanted to be at home with her kids, and just hated like the hustle and bustle. And she was just listening to bad advice, and Dave just wanted to take advantage of her for money. And, was coming from a place of scarcity with his money mindset and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so which is it? So take advice from people who are above you, or listen to your intuition and to your gut instinct. Like the advice is they don't quite mesh together. And from my experience, and maybe this is just the cutthroat industry that I'm a part of, but anytime I've ever shared my money situation with people above me, and I'm doing well, it's almost like a jealousy thing, or somehow the phone calls stop coming in when I'm doing well, and I say like, oh, I'm doing good, I got a lot of clients. It's like they almost like don't want to work with me anymore, because they're like, okay, forget it, I'm going to go to someone else, or I don't know, maybe that's just a me thing. I have a weird issue with money separate from manifesting, but I don't think whenever I've shared how much I'm making, just not asking for advice, but just share, like, as she's saying, what she's saying is just share about your revenue. It's never benefited me. It's only made me uncomfortable, them uncomfortable, and never led to anything other than kind of me being concerned about, did I burn a bridge somehow on accident? But maybe that's just me. Maybe the self-help industry is different, or they like all to show off to each other. But I don't know why someone knowing that you made a lot of money and did well, they're going to give you even more advice about how to continue to do well. I don't think that's true, at least in my worldview.
We were probably on like our fourth date, and we were talking about financials, and he was so uncomfortable. And like, just like his skin was crawling, because where he grew up, you're in England, you're not typically going to sit around and have a real robust conversation on, I was just like, well, what do you make a year? And like, what's your bonus? And he was like, oh my God. But I don't get it. Like, I don't understand why that's something that we're so afraid of. I think it's really helpful.
Okay, this part is funny. So she says on her fourth date with her boyfriend, who's English, you didn't know, he's from England. She really wants to know that part, that he's English and he's from England. That in England, they don't sit around and talk about how much they make at dinner. And on their fourth date, she asked him, how much do you make and what is your bonus? It made him uncomfortable. Yeah, it would make me uncomfortable as well, because doesn't that seem like she's the type, and I ain't saying she's a gold digger, but it does seem like that's a question. If someone to ask me that question on a fourth date, what my bonus was, it's like, what's the point of that? How is that important to you at all? If you're a self-sustained human person that, obviously has a very good job, he probably owns property and whatever, how is that relevant to the conversation in any way other than her business is tanking and she needs to know if this next dude that she's going to turn into Dave, which is aka a financial security situation, if he's going to be up to snuff, because maybe she doesn't know the specifics of being Shawn Mendes's tour manager if he makes a lot of money. So she's trying to get those specifics out of him on their fourth date. And if you remember correctly, she says in Rach Talk that she just met this guy this part too is we're going to talk about a little bit later, because she brings up this other guy in this podcast. But on the fourth date, she was saying that she was just meeting on the app, the celebrity dating app, for friends. So wouldn't you think on the fourth date you probably would still be in that friend zone if that was true? I mean, maybe on the fourth date you might decide like, oh, I really like this guy, actually more than a friend. But you're not dating for months and months and then decide, oh, I like him romantically. This is still probably in the friend zone stage. So to ask him at that stage about his finances, very bizarre to me. And I would be uncomfortable. Let me know if you disagree. I'm not against disagreeing on that fact. Like I said, I think I have some weirdness about money because I grew up similar to Rachel and kind of a money is evil mindset. But I don't think just talking to people about every penny you make is the solution. Let's see. Yeah. People are saying, yeah, Truth Seeker said that's so rude. That's all she cares about. If she really did this, then it's insane to show up for the fifth date. I agree. The boyfriend comes up a lot in this podcast, and I think it's relevant in many ways. Yeah, so I make like I said, 1 zillion yen per episode of this. Especially when I talk about Rachel, they do really well. So I make 1,000,005 yen. I only use yen because it's from Austin Powers, and Dr. Evil's like 1,000,000,000 billion yen. So that's why I think it's funny, not because I'm from Japan or have any knowledge of Japan in any way other than the Dr. Evil reference. And wow, oh my God, now I am rich. All right, I'm shutting down the stream. I've made my money back from doing this. Thank you so much to Anne. I'm trying to read these correctly because I know that they kind of describe the emoji. So super chat. I'm assuming you meant love. I love your work. Knowledge is power, but you need to be careful about where you get your information. There are loads of places online where you can get financial and business advice other than self-help gurus. I totally agree. Please let me know where good financial advice comes from. And at the end of this, we're going to look at CNBC because Rachel gave her financial tips to CNBC, which I think has a lot of issues just based on their content. I'm not saying CBS or NBC or CNBC, but CNBC Money seems to be kind of like a controversial place to get advice. Usually it's the lead is buried in these clickbait articles where it's like, woman pays off tuition in 1 year working minimum wage job, and you click on the link and it's like, her mother gave her $100,000. It's like, okay, why did I have to read this article? Thank you. But thank you very much. I'm sure there is many places. Let me know though, because I could use help. Let's see. Yep, red flag, asking about that too early. Definitely more of a serious relationship type of thing. I don't think your hinge question should be how much money do you make a year or what's your bonus? And she's almost making it seem like that's the problem, that we women aren't asking these questions early enough, or we're not secure in ourselves to ask these hard-hitting questions. But again, if it was reversed and someone was asking me that, I would still be uncomfortable. So I don't think it's a woman problem. I think it's a self-involved problem. Yes, I see your question about BetterHelp. I have a lot of thoughts. I don't know exactly what they are yet. I mean, I do know what they are, but I don't want to put them out there publicly yet. But I think mental health online is probably a bad idea generally, and texting about your mental health in that format to a therapist is not the best. And compared to no therapy, it's better. BetterHelp is better than nothing, but traditional therapy or therapy, at least through Zoom, is probably light years above texting. And I don't think having access to a therapist 100% of the day, 24 hours a day is a good thing either. So that's kind of my very minute spiel on BetterHelp. If you go on TikTok and search BetterHelp, you can find a lot of people talking about it on TikTok and more knowledgeable than I am. And that helped me open my eyes to kind of the issues about BetterHelp. Let's see, since I'm going to have to close my small business, it's my fault that I haven't manifested money for the last 5 years. Yep, that's Rachel Hollis's theory. Correct. Okay, let's continue. I'll keep reading the comments as we go.
Know what's possible. You may have heard me tell the story before. I wrote about it in one of my books, but I went to a business conference years ago and I had this life-changing moment sitting next to this guy who was dressed. He sat down next to me and he was dressed like a beach bum. Like he looked like he had just left the beach. He looked like a surfer. And I had paid so much money to go to this business conference, and I had paid extra. It was a birthday gift to myself, and I had saved money for over a year, and I like splurged and got VIP. And this guy sits down next to me, and I'm like, immediately my brain is like, oh, he like snuck up to these seats. Like he's one of those people that just are super daring, and he came and sat up here even though he's not supposed to be in these seats. And I make up this whole story in my head about this guy who is like cheating the system and has taken the seat. And at some point we have to do an activity with our neighbor, and he ends up being the person that I do this activity with. And he was the owner of Spiritual Gangster, which, if you're not familiar, Spiritual Gangster is this really cool line of like yoga and athletic apparel, and they're really creative and they're really fun. And he was sort of the dream because he was like a hippie and he was totally himself and he was making so much money. And I, number one, don't judge a book by its cover, but number two, in that conversation, he was so generous and honest with me. And he was like, oh, what's your revenue? And I could not believe that he just point blank asked me to tell him how much money I was making. I was just so shocked. I was embarrassed. I was like, oh, basically up until that point in my life, financials were like a don't ask, don't tell. I'd never had someone just point blank say like, and he was so casual about it. It wasn't even like a big deal. He was just like, hey, what was your revenue last year? And I was like, I don't know. I can't remember what it was at the time, like $400,000 or whatever. And I will never forget. I was like, well, and he was like, cool. That's great. Like, good for you. And I was like, well, what's yours? Cause at the time I still didn't know what company he owned. I still just thought he was like this random dude. And I said, well, what was your revenue last year? And he's like, oh, I think we did like 18.2 or something. I was like, I'm sorry, what? He's like, oh yeah, 18 million, which is great because honestly, the year before we did like 14. So we're really proud of how much we jumped. And y'all, I had never in my whole life ever knew that just a regular average human being could own a company that made $18 million a year. Like in my brain, that was something that like, I'm using air quotes, even though you can't see me, that like a corporation could do. A corporation could make $18 million a year, but like this guy and like his staff of like 20, like 18. What? Plus, even better, like on his terms, because he was at this very fancy business conference in like a t-shirt and ripped jeans with like messy hair, just living his best life. And
Okay, so I let that play for a little bit so you can hear the whole story about the basically a Darman video. If you know what Darman is, he's that guy on YouTube who tells stories in a very infantilizing way where it's all scripted dramatics, and basically always at the end, the lesson of the video is don't judge people by the way they look, because one day they could be rich, or they were rich the whole time, and then you could have had a Ferrari and you screwed up on that opportunity. So this story reminds me of that. So basically she says, to recap, she was at this business conference. She saved money to go, so she's in VIP. This guy in a t-shirt and ripped jeans shows up. Oh my gosh, how crazy. And asks her now this is where I think, and I see some people in the chat are agreeing, this seems like an inappropriate and word space, appropriate, so not inappropriate, but a good time to talk about finances when you're at a business conference, and that is the point of the exercise. Okay, great. I think that makes sense. When you're on your fourth date with a friend / boyfriend, I don't know if it's as appropriate, and I don't think they quite equate in the storytelling way that she's making it seem like. Just ask everyone how much they make, because that's a very important factor of how if you should like this person or not. Not the way that they present them. I mean, the way they present themselves. If they look like they're comfortable, that apparently means that they're poor. I don't know. And then she also, I like how she squeaks in there, like, I don't even remember what my revenue was, like 400,000. Like, that's a huge amount of money to me. And she just throws that in there, like, I was so insignificant at the time, because I'm sure she's made more than that in the years, probably not this year, but in the years after and before Toiletgate. I'm sure she says she made multi-millions, so 400,000 is a measly amount she can't even remember about, because she's been so successful since then. Then this guy said, he made $18 million in spiritual warfare? I don't know, spiritual something, some sort of yoga clothes company. And she was shocked that he had asked her about revenue. But in that setting, when they're trying to grow their business and find things, to collaborate on, and you kind of do need to know those types of things. So I think that makes sense. I guess, and like she said, don't judge a book by its cover. It's like, well, no one did but you. But okay, I guess she said she learned her lesson because the book might be rich, and therefore you might actually be able to use them for something. And that's another thing too. It's like, what if the answer is my finances suck? They suck. They're bad. I ran a business, or I ran a restaurant and it failed. Should I no longer be talked to by people? Should I lie? Because it almost seems like Rachel's saying that there should be a qualifier. Like, ask people in your life what they make, and if they don't make an amount that is exciting to you or more than you, that you could strive to, or you could learn from them, or you could strive to be like them, kick them to the curb, because there's nothing to learn there. Obviously, they don't manifest well enough. That's not what she says. I'm putting those words in her mouth, but that's almost how me as a listener could take it. And I've heard that advice before, where someone says, you take on the personality of the 6 people closest to you, so you better hang out with people who are driven and whatever. And like, yes, if you're an addict or a former addict recovering, from sobriety, or you're sober, you're recovering from addiction, hanging around people who do drugs or do drink or whatever, it's probably not a good idea. You probably do need to get out of that. But when people apply it to the alternative, where it's like, I'm only going to hang out with people who make more money than me so I can learn from them, and it's like, what? Why would that group want to be with you? You just want to glom onto people and take all their advice and take their money secrets and take their generosity. I just always thought that was weird advice. Like, and of course, those people in the group, if they're getting the same advice, they're going to want to go up to higher and higher. So it doesn't even make sense. Unless someone's giving you charity or something, like they feel bad for you, they want to teach you because you're a nice person or something. But I always thought that advice was weird. Like, surround yourself with people who are better than you, and then you'll be better. It's like, but then the people who are better than you, wouldn't they want to be people that are better than them? I don't know. Anyways, probably a fake story, except that she actually says the name of the company. And let me go away for a second. We can look up what this guy looks like. What was it called? Spiritual warfare? Yoga company? Let me know in the chat. What was it called? Spiritual yoga company close. Spiritual gangster. Oh God, that's even worse. Okay, who owns Spiritual Gangster? And at the end, if you heard, she said she didn't think a person could make 18 million or have a company worth 18 million. She only thought that was a corporation or a company. I mean, he had 20 employees, she said, so isn't that a company? I mean, it's not like a huge company, but okay, let's see. Okay, I'm actually finding very interesting things. Let's see. Thank you, everybody. Gangster. I'm torn about how gangster. Gangster is like cool if you're selling something, but gangster is something you don't want to be described as if you're not rich, which I find unfair. Okay, Inc. magazine says, interview with Vanessa Lee, co-founder and creative director of Spiritual Gangster. So there was a female owner and founder, but she somehow found the man, and doesn't bring that up in the interview. Good vibes, gratitude, and being part of a movement. Sounds like this is right on brand with Rachel. It's more than a clothing line. The brand sets out to make a difference by bringing happiness to the lives of its customers and partnering with Feeding America to send me blah, 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 blah. Okay, it happened by accident. So where's the guy? This is a woman. Oh. Okay, she opened it with her husband. So the husband was the one that she met? This is like less exciting, 100% less exciting. This guy was the equivalent of like Dave going to a conference to talk about his wife's business, from what I'm reading. Okay, let's see. She's a mom of 4, marathon runner, longtime yoga lover. Spiritual Gangster was started about 8 years ago, grown from our garage with 22 amazing employees. Okay, great. Origin story. My husband, Ian Lopatin, and I, so I guess that's the guy she met, Ian, owned a yoga studio in Phoenix where we taught yoga to hip-hop music. One day after class, our friend came up and said, "You're a gangster, a spiritual gangster." Oh, Lord. And we decided to put it on a shirt. Everyone began asking if they could have one, so we started selling it in the studio. Okay, so this guy didn't even own the company. What the heck? So weird. I'm confused. Should we look up Ian? Let's look up his name. Stand by. I just want to see what this dude looks like. So, I mean, yes, this could be a fake story too. Who knows? I mean, I'm surprised that she would even give the name unless it was real, because she could easily have said just a man who owned a company, but she purposely names the company. And also, it's not that he was a cool dude that just happened to be in a t-shirt. He sells cool t-shirts. So if anything, it was branding for himself. So it's not, I don't know. The whole story is stupid. So this is him. The story of how Ian Lopatin became a spiritual gangster and then built that brand, which became a movement. Okay. Cool, I guess. That's him. He kind of looks like Rachel's current boyfriend says. I don't know. I know we're getting off topic here, but it seems like his wife was the one more behind the business, at least in that interview from Inc., and he's part of it, and that's who Rachel met, allegedly. Okay, well, let's go back to the podcast. We'll continue to listen to this wonderful story about things that we can relate to.
Shifted what was possible for me. And that wouldn't have happened if someone hadn't been willing to be honest and talk about what was possible. So that's why That's the intention behind this conversation. I don't think that there's any appropriate thing to aim for when it comes to finances. I think there's what makes sense to you. I think of our Start Today community, which is this collection of women mostly, and a few good dudes all over the world who use our Start Today journal as this gratitude meets goal setting, right? And so every single day they're writing down the same goals and they're working towards these things. And having been part of this community with them for the last several years, I can tell you that it looks different to everybody. The financial hopes and dreams look different to everybody. Some people their big financial goal is to pay off their student loan debt. Some people, their big financial goal is to be completely debt free. Someone else wants to own a home. Someone else wants to take their kids on vacation. Someone else wants to make $1 million in revenue with their business this year. It goes across the board. There's no right way to be. Some people want to make a bunch of money so they can give a bunch of money away or support their church or whatever. But the beauty of all of that is that we bring our own perspective on this to the party. And whatever it is you're hoping for, I believe in my heart that it's possible for you to have that. But you have to be conscious of where your limiting beliefs are, what decisions you make that negatively affect your ability to earn or save. There's just a lot that goes into it. So that's what we're doing today.
There are all sorts of things that can, as they professionals get timely, like.
I like how her voice changes when she does the ads. She becomes like a little girl. She becomes a little sweet girl from the Victorian age when she reads her ads. I'll play a second of it so you can hear what I'm talking about.
Responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions, all without ever having to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room again.
You'll never have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room again. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm being mean, but you can tell the difference in her voice when she does the ad. She was like, you know how they say smile. They can hear it in your work, in your voice over the phone when you're doing sales or something. They tell you to smile through the phone. So it's like she's doing almost like I'm an innocent little girl, just reading an ad.
Sleeping, you name it. There's some/rise. Join over
back on top.
Okay. In charge of their mental health.
Here we are.
Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rise.
So jumping right back on top of where we left off, we ended last week's conversation with this idea that what you focus on, you create. So if you focus on the fact that your bills are never paid, there's never enough, this scarcity mindset, if you focus on that, you're just going to create a world with more of that. You're just going to create a world with more of that, right? You're just, if you think that, people like us just can't get ahead and I'm not good with money and I'm never going to have a job that pays me enough, you're just going to keep fulfilling this self-prophecy. You're just going to keep living into that truth. So the first piece,
again, with the victim blaming, saying people like us can't make money. It's like that's been true for hundreds of years in this country that, until recently, really, recent generations, there was literally, not figuratively, but literally limits on women opening credit cards, people of color having homes and being able to own property. And as we know, this is a true wealth thing, that money compounds over time, and it's much easier to start anything when you have a little capital to begin whatever you want to do. So saying, oh, people believe that they just don't have the ability to make money and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yes, because that is the reality for millions of people in this country and across the world, multi-millions of people across the world that don't have access to capital. Therefore, it is much harder for them to get any sort of start, or any sort of leap where it's like, okay, anyone could start a business technically. Yeah, anyone can start a business for the most part. But if you don't have money, it's going to be a hell of a lot harder to do that and do it successfully. So I just think, her saying like, well, you blame yourself and that mindset is what's holding you back. It's like maybe, but also maybe that person is like in touch with reality and sees that it's going to be much, much harder. The next thing needs to be, how do you find money? That needs to be the real lesson, because everyone, unless you are rich, like Rachel, and has a husband that, provided her with financial security, that is something that a lot of people could utilize and benefit from, is how to find capital when your husband's not a rich Disney executive. That would be a good lesson I would love to learn about. But that's not Rachel's story. So Rachel's going to tell you that you should blame yourself and change yourself and your mindset, not look at the actual reasons and feel a little bit better about yourself that, yeah, I've had to come against a lot of adversity. I'm starting from behind the starting line because of my skin color, because of my gender, because of the way society was in the past. I'm starting behind. So I know I have a lot longer to go than you do. To me, that's not negative. To me, that's almost more inspiring and more realistic, because when things get hard, it makes sense. It's like, it's going to be harder for you as whatever you were born into, depending. If you're in a position that's not rich white person of, class, it's going to be difficult. But when it feels difficult and you still have to achieve, it's not going to feel like you failed because it's your person that sucks. It's your brain that sucks. It's you're a bad, worker. It's probably not those factors that are causing you to feel like it's a lot harder for you than other people. So that's a little aside note as well about just being realistic does not automatically mean you're being negative. And when the law of attraction comes around, it's frustrating. And this is a side tangent with the law of attraction. But okay, like we talked about last week, the law of attraction makes it seem like it's a law of gravity, like it's a earthbound or universal truth. So if that's the case, and I would like to hear Rachel say this, she hasn't said it to me, or obviously, I don't talk to her, but that, the law of attraction doesn't make mistakes. The law of attraction is concrete. Okay, if that's true, why do children get cancer? That's what I always think. If the law of attraction is true, why do children who are innocent, who come to this world as little babies, get sick and die? Why? What did they do to themselves? They don't have consciousness to be able to, think negatively or positively. If that's what Rachel is saying, I'm not saying that's what she's saying, but if that was the case, are you saying that the parents then are responsible? Because that's even worse. So whenever I think of law of attraction, it's like, oh, so, you need to tell me what lanes does it apply to? Only financial? But then they talk about health and say, oh, if you're healthy, you're thinking positively. If you're unhealthy, you're thinking negatively. But what about children? What age does it start? There's no specifics because it's bullshit. And they only want to use it to sell you courses and things when they have no expertise. So I digress.
When it comes to what we bring into our lives is knowing what you're focusing on. Your life, the life that you are living right now, is 100% the result of the thoughts you were thinking 6 months ago. Like, sit in that for a second. The thought process and the mindset that you had 6 months ago is why you are living the life you're living today. The choices that you made last week in terms of mindset and thought process are affecting where you are today. You cannot evolve in your life in any way. You can't evolve with your faith, your spirituality, your relationship, your ability to parent, your ability to finish those projects that you start or achieve your goals. None of that is possible with an old way of thinking. Louise Hay has this quote that I freaking love. I love it so much I keep quoting it lately, so it's very possible I told you this last week. But just in case I didn't, she has this quote I love. She's like, you would never go, you know how like after you eat dinner and you scrape the plate into the trash, you scrape sort of like the scraps of your dinner into the trash. She said, when you go to make dinner the next night, you would never go dig last night's scraps out of the trash can to make tonight's dinner. So why are you trying to live this life today with the scraps, the old thoughts, those things that didn't serve you? We're meant to take the pieces, the thought process, the mindset, the goodness, take what works. Take what works and leave the rest behind you. What you focus on, you create. The next piece that matters for this, and I want to go back into some of the teaching.
I don't understand that quote and how it relates to this. So if you have dinner and you're throwing it in the garbage, the scraps, don't go into the garbage for tomorrow's dinner. Start fresh. Okay, but what if things are working? What if you're doing well, but you want to do better? I don't know. That was just like a weird, and she doesn't explain it. She's like, this is a great quote. Okay, moving on. It's like, I don't get the analogy. I think it makes sense maybe if you have gone through a trauma or something where it's like, okay, this is a new day, a new thing. You can't go back to the trash to eat, I guess. But given her advice, it's like, she's like, it took me 20 years to get to where I am in my business. And what makes you think I want to be relatable to you? It's like, okay, so forget that, start over. I guess that is her mentality. Start over every day, start new personality, new nickname, Rach today, Ray tomorrow, big sister Rachel 3 years from now, I guess. I was just, at that point I got lost. I think she even got lost because she starts to like talk about something else immediately.
I did on manifesting. I'm going to say it again, because even if you think manifesting is like woo-woo hippie, whatever, I don't care. Go listen to episode 227 and 229. But I'm going to sort of like Cliff's Notes it for you real quick. There's a 3-part process when it comes to the law of attraction. The first part is to ask. You have to actually know what it is you want.
Okay, before we get too deep into the 3-pronged approach to making money according to the law of attraction via Rachel Hollis, step 1 is to ask. Think about this while she says this. I'm going to let it play. But think about this as if the universe is actually your husband or your partner. I think it almost could be synonymous with asking your husband for money, believing that he thinks you deserve it, and 3, accepting the allowance that he's giving you. I think it's almost like a way, instead of it being your husband, now it's the universe that is being used in this context. And I don't know why it struck me when I was listening to it earlier this morning, but that's what it seems like to me. It's almost telling women to stay in their place, theoretically, figuratively, and always be asking permission to make money or to get finances. It might not be your husband anymore, but now it's God. Now it's the universe. She's speaking directly to women. I'm sure there's men who teach the law of attraction. Given The Secret, there was a lot of men who spoke about law of attraction. But I don't know why this one makes me feel like it's almost, and she kind of words it in a way that makes me feel weird about it. Like, oh, please, Papa, can I have some cash, please, for my business ventures? But you're asking the universe. It's like, if you're asking for it, isn't that taking away from you deserving it forthrightly? Like, you worked for it, you earned it, you got it. You didn't have to ask. You did the job that you were supposed to do. It just almost seems like there's this layer of secondary citizen type thing, and maybe that's not what she means, but that's how I'm sort of taking it today, because I'm also in a bad mood, so that could be why.
With a goal that we want to focus on, let's say for you, it's I have $11,000 left in student loans, and I want to pay that off, right? So you're asking, I want to be debt free when it comes to my student loans. I want no student loan debt. That's what you're asking for. The second part of the law of attraction says you have to believe. You have to have faith that what you have asked for is on its way. So this part of law of attraction, I feel like tends to be a bit easier for people who grew up with some kind of faith. If you practice some kind of faith, and this is assuming that faith was never destroyed for you, then I hope that you have numerous experiences in your life where God provided, where the universe came through, where source showed up. And if you haven't thought about those things or made a list of those things, I really want to encourage you to pull that into your gratitude practice. I want you to find examples in your life of things that have happened for you that could only be divine, that could only be just this perfect alignment of the cosmos, that could only be your creator making sure that you're okay. I believe, you don't have to share this belief, but this part bothers me too, because it
eliminates any other person in the world. And it almost forgives you for, I shouldn't say, okay, let me rephrase that before I say something I don't mean. When I think a lot of times people have guilt, and myself included, when you're enjoying something, you spent money on, you start to think about all the people who don't have what you have. So for example, you buy a new purse or a new car, and you think about all the people who live in a different country that will never have access to, having this luxury. And I think if you think like that too much, it can be a detriment to living your life fully, enjoying yourself in life. I do understand that. However, when you take it to the extreme that I think Rachel is here and saying that, the reason why people get money is because they think positive thoughts and the universe provides you because you deserve it. What about the people who are living in their car right now, on the side of the road, not knowing what they're going to do tomorrow, not being able to feed their children, who live in tents, in tent cities across the country, in the United States and abroad? I mean, there's lots of people who might have faith, go to church services, but yet don't have a solution to the way they're living. She almost is saying to me, I take it as those people deserve it. The universe knows best. If you're in a situation where you're happy and healthy and rich, the universe gave that to you because you deserve it. If you're living a life where you're poor and desolate and not able to survive, you must have done something wrong to deserve that. And, if you have faith, then that's all you need. So the person's unfaithful? I don't know. It just seems like it forgives people like her who have enormous wealth to not feel guilty about having that wealth anymore. And maybe that's okay. I don't think having extreme guilt about everything you do is good. But I also think someone like, again, I'll bring up Jeff Bezos, who has billions and billions and billions of dollars. He could never spend it in a lifetime if he tried. He should probably feel a little guilty about having all of that money while people lay in poverty with $0 to their name. I don't know. There seems to be some sort of unbalanced worldview going on here. And it just almost makes it seem like when bad things happen to other people, you can just look at it and go, well, they must have done something wrong to deserve it, whether it was in a past life, like someone said in the comments, or in this current life. But then it doesn't allow you to look at the systemic issues going on in the government or going on in the workplace that may have got them there, or in their neighborhood in which they live. I mean, I don't know. I know I'm kind of going off here again, but it just seems like it's a good excuse to justify why you were lucky in life. That it wasn't that you were lucky, because that's what I think most of this all is. It's luck. It's lucky that you were born with a functioning brain that allowed you in functioning body to be able to not get sick and to continue and to have these years to work and things. I mean, that is a luck, right? Unless you're saying it's not luck and that people who aren't born with those things deserve it in some way. So this is getting kind of like philosophical, existential, but I mean, that's where she's taking it, right? So I think it's important to think about it a little bit deeper than just like, yeah, you're right. Like, I deserve money, therefore I'm going to get money. Therefore, everyone else who doesn't get money doesn't deserve it. It's a slippery slope mindset.
That we all have examples of that, but oftentimes we don't slow down to appreciate them, which I think is also really dangerous when it comes to, if you want to attract more goodness into your life, if you want to attract more abundance, if you want to have more things to feel grateful for, but you're not ever acknowledging what has already happened, there's going to be a disconnect there, because you're forever going to have a scarcity mindset. You're forever going to feel like, oh, well, nothing good ever happens to me if you don't stop to acknowledge the goodness that has already occurred. So the first part is asking with specificity. I want my student loan debt paid off, or it will cost $5,000 for me to go on this amazing European vacation all summer long. I'm making this up, guys. But there's specificity. I want $5,000, or I want to pay off my loans, or I want to be able to donate $200 to this organization that I'm passionate about. Like the price, the amount of money is not important. What's important is that there is energetically, like, that it's something that makes you excited, right? There's emotion attached to whatever you're asking for. And then you're holding on to the belief that it's on its way. That, hey, I don't know how and I don't know when, but I am confident that I will be taken care of in this way. The belief part is so crucial. And the only way I can tell you to really have that belief stick is through a gratitude practice. I know. It's the number one advice I give you guys. I know. But I have seen this transform so many lives, and it has transformed my life. Doing a daily gratitude practice for years makes it impossible for me to not be aware of how unbelievably blessed I am.
So why did your company completely fall apart? I mean, she had goals for the Rise app to become $1 billion idea, fail. She had the Quibi show that she put time and effort into. The whole app fails. Her and Dave, she believed and she said that they had an amazing marriage, fails. Okay, so you've had a gratitude journal for years. What the heck happened? Why am I going to start a gratitude journal today when you started years ago, and look at your life? Look at how your life turned out. I mean, she's going to talk about how amazing her life is and how great it is now compared to before. It's even better than before. So she really did, I guess that's her solution. Her answer is, well, it's even better than it was before. I didn't know. The universe knew I had more in store because I am Rachel Hollis, Rach Hollis, and the most special person in the world. It's just this is all, I think, honestly, what I said earlier in this live stream is that she believes that her life is worth mimicking or worth sharing with others because she has some sort of need to want to be the center of attention or to want to be out there and remembered and loved and worshiped. She has that desire within her. So she's trying to create something that comes off as somewhat of advice, but it's really, she just wants to talk about herself. That's all she wants to do. What she's learned, what she thinks about dinosaurs, what she does with her boyfriends, on vacation, whatever, what conferences she went to, who she met, what she thought. That's all she wants to do. She wants to share that. And she knows that the best way to do that is to tie in a lesson that has nothing to do with anyone but herself. And the more I listen to her and kind of get a grasp on who she is, that's all it is. And she's been successful at it. I'll give her that, but it's going to get harder and harder because people are on to her, obviously.
In the hardest seasons, I am so blessed. And what I'm seeing, what I'm doing in my gratitude practice is like all of the times that I have been taken care of, that like, oh, remember this thing that I was so worried about? Like I was so worried about that thing, and like, damn, that worked out. It works out. Someone always comes through this at the 11th hour. Like things always happen to remind me that I am uplifted by something greater than myself. So ask, believe, and then the third one, which is typically the hardest for people, receive. Or I like to use the word allow. So in law of attraction, the steps are ask, believe, receive. But I like allow because it's a reminder for me that this is out of my control. This is out of my control. If I have faith that I will be taken care of, that I will find a way, that if I do good work, if I show up well, if I learn from my mistakes, if I grow in my knowledge and like figure out new things in my business or become, more value add to the things in my life that are providing me with finances and resources, like I just think that that's going to continue to grow. And I have faith. And the allowing piece is where you battle your scarcity mindset. I talked about this in last week's episode that oftentimes people are like, let's say, let's take it away from money for a second. Let's take it to another place that can be really emotionally triggering for people. And that's relationships, love. I hear women say this all the time. They're like, why am I still single? Like, I've worked on myself. Like, I've done these things. I go out, I make friends. And Rachel, I am manifesting the man of my dreams. And like, and I believe that it's coming, but like, where is he? But the thing is, if you're focusing on where something is, then you're focusing on its absence. It's the same with money. It's the same with the job of your dreams. It's the same with anything in your life. If you're thinking about the fact that you don't have it yet, you're reinforcing to the universe that that's what you want. Remember that Tony Robbins quote I told you guys about? Where focus goes, energy flows. You are putting energy into the fact that you don't have this thing. You're putting energy into the fact that you always struggle financially, right? You're worrying about it, you're stressing about it, but I know this is hard, but it's impossible for you to say that you have faith. Let's take this from a strictly, I'm going to use the word God because that's just the easiest right now, but put anything you want into that word. Creator, source, universe, whatever you call it.
Saying source is such a new thing, and maybe I'm wrong, but at least in the mainstream vernacular, saying source, and she brings it up a few times here about like replacement for God or the universe. To me, it's so weird, like source. Everyone keeps talking about, like, I went to this, I was working at a conference doing video work, and someone kept talking about, I had a download from source. I had a download from source. I'm like, is that a company? Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, a download from source. Like, as if they got a thought in their head and now they're saying they got a download from source. I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, are we not allowed to have thoughts in our own brain anymore? They have to come from an exterior place. It's just so, I think because people are leaving the church with very good reason. I think, the church has been shown to have a lot of hypocrisy and issues with money, and these pastors with Lamborghinis and such. A lot of people are over it. A lot of people don't want to dedicate at least a day a week to going and hearing people talk about you need to give. And this is also part of that, like, if you give tithings, it'll come back to you tenfold. And she'll bring that up soon too, don't worry. But it's also like, I think people are getting sick of that, but they also still want to connect to it and still have the faith element in their life. And that's familiar maybe. So just changing it into this new age thing where it's like, I'm going to be independent person and do yoga and manifest at my house, but using all the same principles that you learned in church, and also all the same principles that help you feel better than other people. Because part of church, from what I remember, you have to feel like the people who aren't in the church are lesser than you. They weren't, you're supposed to bring them in. You're supposed to help them become better people because you're saving them from, being sentenced to a life of hell, or a afterlife of hell. So, the best people are in the pews next to you, and it almost just takes on a different form. So it's hypocritical to keep believing in the church, but you still believe in all the same things and just call it, manifesting. It basically is the prosperity gospel that she's discussing here with different shiny new names rebranded. It's not different to me that I can tell.
I'm going to call it God. It's impossible to say that you have trust and faith in God and have that be real and also be worried. And that's not a slight against you guys. That's not something to make you feel shame. Because certainly many times in my life I should have had faith and I had anxiety instead. And I used to get so pissed when I would hear pastors or people say like, oh, well, if you had real faith in God, you wouldn't have anxiety. And I'm like, well, fuck you. You don't know my genetics and my chemical makeup. So that's not.
So how can she say that? So she's saying that was wrong, that she should have had faith? I think what she just said was probably the most real thing that she said in this whole podcast, is that when pastors say, you should have had faith in that, you shouldn't have anxiety. You wouldn't have anxiety if you had faith. And she's like, well, you don't know my chemical makeup and my background. It's like, yeah, that seems pretty legitimate and realistic. But then she'll go on in the next breath and say, but you have to have faith. It's like, you have one moment where it's like you're actually being real and normal, and then you go off course. She has some, acknowledgement of it. So she's saying like, no, the church doesn't get it, but I get it as a manifester. It's like, okay.
It's not why I'm saying that at all. But I do want you to question if you believe that you have faith in something happening, but you're also still scared. You also still have fear. You also still have anxiety. The only reason I pointed out is that that's a really good opportunity for you to go back to some gratitude work. And hey, believe me, I know what it feels like to have your electric shut off, your phone shut off, like the bill collector's calling, the car repossessed. Oh my God. Like, I know what that feels like. And you couldn't have told me anything about having faith at that time. But I feel like, damn, if someone had talked.
I think she's referencing her parents, not her. I'm assuming she didn't have her car repossessed after she was married to Dave at 19. And she even claims at 21, she was financially stable. So from 0 to 19, maybe they had the car repossessed at her home, but that's not really you as your person, who believes in whatever. And she's also saying, I wish I was so upset about that. Like, yeah, that's your body and your brain telling you, get out of this situation. It's not like you didn't have faith. And also, okay, she's saying she didn't have faith, but somehow she got out of it. So what's the point of having faith? Because you would have got out of it either way. It's just all these contradicting statements. None of it matters. This is all dumb.
This when I was 19 years old and freaking making no money and constantly overdrafting my account and all of those things. Like, if someone had explained this concept to me back then, my Lord, where would I be today?
So
Save up to
we're talking about the online thrift store. Where would she be today if she had a better mindset? She thinks that she's at the lower end of her potential then, so she deserves to be made for more than what she is currently doing. I think she's probably maxed out on her run of success, and she did pretty good given the circumstances. She did the best that I think she probably could, but according to Rachel, she could have been even better. I don't think so. I don't know. Whatever.
Make a socially conscious choice.
She's back to baby voice, baby Victorian voice.
Our planet. Upgrading your wardrobe shouldn't break the bank. At
shouldn't break the
ThreadUp, one of the largest online consignment, offering a deal.
For whatever it's worth.
Okay.
Right now, head to threadup.com to get an additional 50% off plus free shipping on your first order.
For whatever it's worth, I just want you to ask yourself, let's go through it one more time. Ask, believe, allow. Which part of that sequence do you feel like you struggle with? Maybe more than one. But that's a really good place to start. And if you want to take a deeper dive, start with episode 227, which is all about manifesting. In those episodes, I created a challenge for the community because I wanted to prove to them that this happens. So I was like, let's do an experiment. I know that this is real. I know that this is real, but let me prove it to you. So I was like, guys, I want to do a $10 challenge. I want to challenge listeners of this podcast who are all over the world to ask the universe to give them $10. Believe that $10 is going to happen, and then let me know when it does. And the freaking reaction, you maybe even heard, there were so many people who called into the hotline to tell us their stories about the $10 challenge that we ended up turning them into episodes of the show because the results were so amazing and people were so shocked that it happened. So just so you know, the idea was somehow in the next week, the universe is going to give you $10. Maybe you're going to find it laying on the ground. What happened more often than not is that people got $10 in really unexpected ways. Grandma sent them a birthday card, or, the gas company sent them a note. They got a letter in the mail saying that they had been overcharged. And actually, very rarely did people just get 10. 95% of people who called in got more than $10. It was like, oh my gosh, 43, or, I went to go get lunch and I didn't have my wallet and I was so embarrassed.
I just want to say that anyone who is listening to this with a non-critical mindset, the advice is just wish that money is like on the ground, or your grandma sends you money. It's going to fix your financial situation if you're in a dire situation where your lights are being turned off, as she says, like as an example, your car is being repossessed, and your plan of action is just to have faith and that eventually you'll be straight. Bad advice. Do not take it. For the record, just in case anyone didn't know that already. This is stupid. And like $10, yeah, $10 coming into your life, sure. I welcome $10 being sent to me randomly, and it happens, like, oh, in your coat pocket, whatever. You could say that's because of manifesting, or you could say that's because of just luck, or you put it in there or something. I don't know. It could be attributed to a bunch of things, or just like good things happen sometimes, bad things happen sometimes. It's just all random. This is all just random stuff that goes on in our world every day. But as financial advice, this is not the way to go. This, like I said in the last stream, is akin to manifesting via the slot machines, manifesting via the horse races. You don't think there's a whole industry that's built around luck and hope? There is, and it's called gambling, and it's not good. Or playing the lottery. You know what types of people play the lottery? Poor people, for the most part. You don't see Bill Gates buying lottery tickets as a plan for how to succeed into the future. So that's stupid.
because I had waited in line. And then the deli owner was like, oh, I got you, no worries. And then they walked out with their lunch and realized that the lunch was exactly $10. Like, it was stuff like that where it was like, holy crap, this is happening all the time because I trusted that it was on its way. It honestly, you guys, like, don't roll your eyes at me. Go listen to those episodes because it wasn't even me. It was just my experiment to the audience, and it worked because it works. When I was first really taking a deep dive in this process and I was doing meditations and I was just trying, because I realized I had gotten into a really bad scarcity mindset when it came to money. And so over a year ago, I was really taking a deep dive on this subject and wanted to change my fear around money. And I told you guys last week I was struggling because I was going through a divorce, and it was really the first time in my adult life that I was like, holy crap. I'm using air quotes, like, oh, I'm not good with money, and I'm really good at making money, but I'm not good at managing money. And what am I going to do without, a husband to help me? And just all sorts of crazy fears. So I did a lot of work on that subject, and I was in Hawaii by myself.
Oh, the irony in that whole statement. She's like, I needed to get over my fear of money and get over the fact that I'm not good with managing money. So meanwhile in Hawaii, it's like, okay. Okay, so we're already at the point where you're vacationing in Hawaii for the time to reflect on how you handle money and whatnot. So you're already starting at a place that most people can't relate to, as she says. So it's just, she doesn't even hear herself talk. Or I guess she's so surrounded by other people who are more successful than her that she thinks like she's at the lower end of the totem pole. But compared to the whole world, she is so privileged. It's ridiculous. It's not even you can't take advice from her at all for anything, because a lot of it comes back to the privilege she has gained through the years. So unless she's giving advice to other entrepreneurs that have made $400,000, I think, as she says, a year in a business, they can't really benefit from this advice. You and I at home, you and I, who I definitely know who you are, the person who put the noodles down while you first were starting this live stream and now have moved on to chips. I don't know. You have chips and then you have a gum before you go back to work. You and I can't relate to this, right? But she doesn't say, of course, none of these self-help people say, like, this advice is specifically for this type of person. This advice will only work in these rare cases or some circumstances. They want to appeal to everyone so they can sell more and scale it to the, world's edges. And it's just I'm like annoyed. I'm just annoyed. This is why I did this live stream, because I was annoyed this morning listening to this. And it gets worse, if you can believe it. It even gets worse than what we've already talked about.
Some work on me, and I was learning about this, and I was doing this meditation every day about sort of learning to not be afraid of money, which maybe sounds so silly, but some of you are going to understand that. And I realized I completely shifted my perspective on finance and really looked at how I handle and sort of exist energetically with money in a totally different way. And what I realized, what I believe in my heart, is I continue to have financial success for a lot of reasons, like work hard, blah, 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 right? Like try and create great...
Work hard, blah, 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 blah. That was her whole brand. She's like, yeah, work hard, blah, 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 blah. Whatever else I said for the last 10 effing years. Blah, 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 not important. My name's Rach now. Forget it. Now we're all about believing in ourselves.
Content, try and serve this community, and I get paid because of that. But I believe that the reason I continue to have financial success is because I keep giving the money away. And this is no BS. Like, I donate to so many causes I believe in, big sums of money. But beyond that, I know it sounds like a douchebag because I'm talking about myself, but I feel very confident that if any of my friends were here or my family, they would agree. I'm very generous. I always pick up the tab. I take all my friends on vacation. I take all my family on vacation. I have continuously, I don't know how to explain this. Like, as I've gotten financially successful, I've used that money to take care of others and to bless others. And I believe that I have the financial success I have because the universe knows that I will just put that money back out to good use. Like I'm a good steward of that money. I use it.
Okay, so that's the part. It still gets worse after this, but this part I think is worth noting. She is rewarded by the universe, okay, to get more money, and she's been financially successful, not because of Dave. Dave is gone from this scenario. She receives money because she puts it back out into the universe, because she is so generous that she is a steward, a good steward of the money. Therefore, she is a better person because she has more money, so therefore she can give it out to more people. Okay, so what we're saying here is that poor people don't know how to, they're selfish and greedy. That's what I'm getting here, is that people that don't have money, the universe is kind of almost punishing them in advance for being selfish and greedy. Cool. Meanwhile, she's learning this while in Hawaii on a fucking vacation, where she gets to manifest her future while also dating, well, I guess not this time, but going to be dating a rich man again after just leaving another rich man. Cool. Got it. I totally understand this now. It makes sense. Poor people are at fault always and forever. Perfect.
Other people. And so I think that because I'm a conduit for generosity, that I continue to be blessed. So I had this like epiphany, like, oh, that's why I have been so lucky in this way, is because I try and use that to make other people feel like they're lucky, right? Or I try and like support organizations that really need it. So I was doing this work. I'm here in Hawaii, and I was walking down the road that day, kind of just chewing on this thought. And I swear, like I literally was like, okay, money's going to keep coming to me, whatever. I'm walking down the street and I find a wallet on the sidewalk. Like nobody's around. Here's this fat wallet. And I just start laughing because I'm like, okay, this is hilarious. And I pick the wallet up. I find the ID of the guy and see that it's on the street, but like much further down from where I am. Go back to where I'm staying, figure out where this person lives. And I'm kind of laughing the whole time because there's like money in the wallet. There's a very large check in the wallet because I was like trying to find this guy's ID. So I saw obviously what was in the wallet. And I'm like, I was looking for his ID, which I'm sure was shoved within the zippers of this dude's wallet, that she was able to see a check, how much it was written for, and the amount was large. Yeah, I'm sure that's a real story. I just had this realization that the universe gives me money because it knows that I'll be a good steward. And here I have this wallet, and I'm like, I'm about to be a good steward because I'm about to go track this guy down and give him his wallet back. And it was so, I'm not even gonna lie, you guys, I was single at the time, and so I was like, oh, is this how I'm about to like meet some cute guy? Because he did look pretty cute in the ID photo, I'm not gonna lie. So
Okay, this is another point unrelated to her money advice. I already brought it up, but does everyone remember that she said when she met her boyfriend, she was in zero place to meet a man. She was not looking for a man. She was not looking to date. She was 100% over it. All she wanted to do was have friends. Therefore, she went on a dating app for celebrities to find male friends. Just a totally normal thing to do, of course. Rachel, that sounds completely typical of her. Yeah, all right. And then this, she's saying she was single. So she was only single. She broke up with Dave in June of 2020, and she met this guy like in January. So there's like a 6-month period where she was single, allegedly. There might be even a shorter amount of time. I can't remember the dates, but it was less than a year, basically less than 6 months, it seemed like. She's already saying now, oh, there's this hot guy who I found his wallet with a fat check in it, and he was really cute. So I was gonna, I was thinking like maybe I could date him. Get your story straight. Girl, wash your facts, because I unfortunately, I remember all these random things about her, so I can kind of put the pieces together, but it's like she can't even keep her story straight for like 5 minutes. I mean, I know when you talk a lot, like you just end up saying stuff and whatever, but she brings it up again later about this guy whose wallet she finds, and it's also like she's making the story out to be, the universe gives me more money because I'm a better person than everyone else. I give money away, unlike everyone else that has money that, donates to causes. I'm better than everyone. Okay, great. So the universe is giving you a sign by giving you a wallet with money in it. that you're going to now give back to the guy who lost it. So why did the guy lose it? Because he's bad with money? Like, if the universe is taking care of everybody, as you say, what was his issue? And wouldn't you have looked into that and been like, well, he must be a bad man because he's lost his... It's just like, you just justify any bad feeling, any internal feeling about yourself that she may have that's like, ooh, am I being greedy? Ooh, am I making too much money? Should I try to, whatever? She's like just washing away, saying like, well, I'm a good person, so therefore I don't have to have these feelings anymore. Okay, and then rebranding it as advice for other people. Awesome.
Drive down the street, go find, and I see this guy like walking up the street on the phone. And I I roll the window down. I'm like, hi, are you, I can't even remember his name. Like, are you so-and-so? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, oh, I found your wallet. He's like, oh my God. He was on the phone with the credit card company trying to cancel everything. He was so sick to his stomach. He's like, he had bought his wife a bike and he was like riding the bike. Also, when he said he had a wife, I was like, well, there goes my plan. But he had bought his wife a bike. And when he was biking home, the wallet had fallen out of his pocket. And it was a Christmas gift and it was close to Christmas. And he was like so stressed out and all of it. And I just thought it was such a beautiful example. It was such a beautiful manifestation of this like realization that I had. Which brings me to my next piece of advice when it comes to wanting to have abundance. And that is, you give the abundance away. Truly, really, you give the...
This is literally coming straight from preacher at the pulpit, prosperity gospel. If you give to the church $100, you'll receive $100,000. Woo! Because if you just give, the universe, God will pay you back tenfold or whatever they say. Prove it. Prove it. I mean, there's a reason why people with substantial wealth can give more, because they have this financial stability to be able to give while also saving, while also investing while also employing people. Yes, if you have more money, you're able to give more. That seems to be pretty well understood. If you are making minimum wage at any place making minimum wage, and you have to pay for an apartment because you can't afford to own one to then, build your equity over time. You're renting and you have $10 left over at the end of the month because rent is very expensive. Don't give that away. Put that into a savings account and don't feel bad about it. You need to look out for you, number one, and look out for your future, because if you have a medical incident or your car tire pops and breaks and you don't have that money, it ain't going to come to you in a grandma's birthday card necessarily. And $10 is not going to be enough to cover you, whatever those expenses are. So this advice is only for rich people. And it's not true. It doesn't mean that if you give all your money away, somehow it's going to come back to you, because why would she have any savings then? If this is true, if she really believed it, put all your money on the table, give it all away, start from zero, and see how fucking hard it would be to get back to where you are now. She's never had to have that happen, because as soon as she had no money when she was a child, got married immediately at 19, and then has had a life of security. So if you're so confident, Rachel, I'll talk right to Rachel. Rachel, listen. If you truly believe this, if you believe in the universe, and this goes to any self-help person, this goes to Gary Vee, who talks about how much he wishes he could lose it all. Okay, bullshit. Do it. And then I'll respect you. And then everyone in this chat probably will respect you 1,000%. I'll buy your books. I'll go to your conferences. If you get rid of every single dollar that you have, and then even your kids, doesn't matter. Don't give them any money either. Start over with being a single mother with 4 kids, and not having $0 in your bank account, and you can become successful. I will have all the respect in the world. Until then, I'm not taking this bullshit advice. Thank you.
It's away. Because in my opinion, there is no greater example of faith that you will be taken care of financially than you taking care of others. And I don't mean that you give the money away like, oh, you go buy some Yeezys, right? I don't mean that you go spend it, that you go make stupid choices because, oh, that's a really great way to get into debt, right? Like, oh, I'm going to go put this on the credit card because don't worry, there'll be more. Frankly, I think if you have a spending problem like that where you're constantly going into debt because you're shopping, that actually is a scarcity mindset. It's not an abundant mindset. There's something almost manic in needing to continue to buy because you're worried it's going to run out. So I do feel like a generous spirit is one of the greatest ways that you can have faith when it comes to financials. And I just want to encourage you, you know what? Like I think of my grandma, like my grandma was obviously my grandparents together were quite poor. But I think of my grandma and her donating to things that she really believed in and cared about. And for her, $20 was a huge amount of money to donate. And for you, maybe it's a huge amount of money to donate. It's like, that's you showing your faith. Or you just do things. I want to encourage you to do things that you have an emotional attachment to, that you feel really good about. I think this is something that women especially struggle with, is that they have guilt over even wanting to have more money. And I got to be honest, I haven't yet met a woman who's like, oh, I want to have more money so I can buy a Maserati. It's usually dudes who have those kind of financial goals. The women that I meet who are like, I want to make more money, or I want my business to do $500,000, or I want to do $20 million, whatever. It's always because they want to take care of other people. I was at a mastermind years ago, and it was when I had finally started to make a lot of money, and I had a lot of guilt about it, because I sort of thought, well, I was like, this is crazy, and who needs this much? And I probably should not work anymore, because how dare I even continue to make money when I already have more than enough to take care of my family? And I'm trying to remember who said it, because I'd love to give them credit for this. I don't remember which like incredible human sitting around this table said it, but essentially he was like, I want you to think of money. Like, the money is out there in the world, right? Like it's circulating right now. He's like, I want you to imagine the money that's out there in the world. Like, he pulled a dollar out of his pocket. He was like, imagine it like this dollar. He said, if you have this dollar, you know what you're going to do with it. You're going to give it to causes you believe in. You're going to use it to help other people. You're going to use it to pay for your kids to go to college, fill in the blank. But you know how you'll be a steward of this dollar. And the dollar's there no matter what. You don't know how someone else might be.
This reminds me of some of the rhetoric that still goes on today, but definitely 20 years ago, where it was, more conservative, I would say, people trying to convince you as a voter to not give your money to these social services because, if you're paying your taxes for food stamps, welfare, etc., you don't know what those people could do. Those people could be using it for drugs. You should keep your tax money. Therefore, you can spend it on things like your family's education. Okay, so that seems to be the same mindset. Rachel's just putting a universe as opposed to the government on it. And all these things benefit rich people. I think, as much as she wants to relate to you by her childhood and say, I know how it feels to see your car be repossessed. You don't know how it feels for you. You saw your parents go through it, and you also hate your parents. So I'm confused. Where's the empathy for them? Where's the training that they need in life to get out of the situation they're in? It just, I think all of this, again, is a justification for being rich and her having guilt about it, because as someone who is poor, she felt like she knew how hard it was and how people treated her probably, throughout her life. And now she doesn't have to be in that situation, and she doesn't know how to deal with it. Instead of going to therapy and dealing with it, more logically, she's gotten into all of these advice-giving, life manifesting mindsets throughout the years, and is dealing with it that way, but also packaging it and selling it, ironically enough. I mean, this podcast is free, but she had 2 ads run throughout it, so I don't know how much she makes, but probably several thousand, I would imagine, because of the amount of numbers that she gets on these podcasts. So giving this advice is not even free advice. This is, a business. And I guess that's how you have to see these people, is see them as businesses, not people. But then they sell themselves as the business. So that's why it's hard to reconcile it in my head. It's like, well, is it you telling me this, or is it Rach, the business? If you're an actor and you do stuff on the side, that's one thing, but your career is acting. When you're a self-help influencer, you're selling yourself. And that's where I start to say, well, why can't I criticize this? Why can't I push back? Well, it's like, well, you're a hurtful, hateful person. It's like, I'm not a hateful person. I don't like bad business. Sorry.
Else might use that money. So don't be afraid, or don't have guilt about wanting to have more, because my instinct is like, you have not made it this far in this podcast if you were over here just wanting to do things only for yourself, or just wanting to use it to buy hookers and blow. There's no way that we're still here having this conversation if that's your intention with money.
I don't even know. No comment. I don't know where she came out with that. I guess we're talking about men. She's basically saying men use money wrong, women use money better. So then why are more men rich than women? Because I don't know, wouldn't it be if the universe recognizes you and gives you money because you're a good steward, wouldn't women be way more rich than men? It seems like people who want things and, step on other people to get it or work really hard for it, can buy Maseratis. I mean, the universe seems fine with that, right? Makes no sense.
Assumption is that you want to help yourself, you want to help your family, you want to help your community. And it's scientifically proven, shown again and again and again, especially, no, not even especially, just straight up with women. If you look the world over, there's this incredible book called Women Hold Up Half the Sky. If you've never read it, please do. But it's the idea that when a woman has financial resources, she lifts up whole communities. When women have financial resources, they use it to help their family, help the community, help the city. It goes wider and wider. And when men have money, they use it for themselves. And I'm not saying every guy, obviously. But if you look at the world, if you look at developing nations, this is something that happens again and again. So I just want you to believe that whatever your financial goals are, there's a way for you to have them. There's a way for you to experience those. And if you're not hurting anybody with what you're wanting, then go for it. But I do think that I can't encourage it enough that your generosity and your willingness to help others when you have experienced success is a huge indicator that you will continue to get more. And not people who donate just to get the tax write-off, or people who donate just to have the optics of that, or people who donate but they're doing it kind of begrudgingly. No, you do it with a happy heart. And I believe you will continue to be blessed in that way.
So she doesn't, in case you guys were wondering, she doesn't just do it. She doesn't do it for the fame. She doesn't do it for the people thinking she's a good person. She does it with a happy heart. She's better than you in that way too. So if you're just giving for the tax breaks, doesn't count. You have to do it from the kindness of your heart, and then make a podcast about it to tell everyone about it. Cool.
The last little piece that I wanted to say here when it comes to financials is how important visualization is. How important it is to be able to see really clearly. I'm sure you've heard me say this before, like a movie playing in your mind, what life will look like when you have this thing that you want. Like, what is life going to look like when you have your student loan debt paid off? And I want you to visualize it and experience it like it's real. Like, oh, the relief that I'll have, the freedom, I won't have to keep making payments, which means I'll have some extra cash. I could take, I can go bring coffee to my coworkers, or I can take my best friend to dinner, or you need to really see and attach good feeling emotions to the image that you have in your mind, because it's really powerful to give your mind, to give your thoughts a place to land. This is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to feel like. And I don't usually tell you this, but when it comes to this type of visualization and wanting to have positive emotions, I would really encourage you to have a song. Okay, now just bear with me. I think that there are, at least for me, there are songs that feel really strong, make me feel oh, life's going to be great and the future is bright and I'm so excited to be alive and all of those things. And one of them, I'll give you, I actually have a playlist. I don't think it's public, but I have a playlist on my Spotify. Songs for Manifest.
Songs for manifesting, okay? These are Rachel Hollis's, sorry, I keep messing up today. Rach's songs for manifesting, okay?
Yeah, it's not public. But it's only 6 songs that really make me feel okay, this is, yes, I'm going to imagine how this is going to be while listening to the song. And then I'm creating this sort of emotional trigger for myself. And anytime this song comes on, I am reminded, I'm creating this feeling, I'm pushing this vibration out into the world. So I'll tell you what's on here, because it's literally only 6.
I love people who say, I'm pushing a vibration out into the world. Me too. I'm speaking, I'm farting. She doesn't fart though. Not that vibration, at least not with Dave. I think these things just get so, these new age things get so misused, like vibration, quantum leaping, quantum physics, like MLMs. I know people are talking about MLMs, but people who sell MLM products talk about quantum physics more than like anyone else I hear about. And people who, are in the new age space, it's like, please explain quantum physics to me first, and then we can go from there about how me thinking about money is gonna make me rich. Like, they just use these buzzwords constantly. It's like, you're not even saying anything. Okay, but let's get back to Rachel's. If you can put your guesses in the chat, what do you think Rachel's manifesting songs are?
The song Geronimo by Shepherd. There's nothing really about manifesting in that, but that song just makes me feel like, yeah, let's go.
Is that the one, I'm not familiar too much, but is that the one that was on TikTok for a while? Say Geronimo, say Geronimo, say Geronimo. That one? Because if that's the song, that's pretty funny and weird. That's the most like generic shopping at the local mall song ever.
Anything Could Happen by Ellie Goulding. I mean, if you think about it, it's really good manifesting song. Like, anything can happen. Good Life by One Republic. And One Foot by Walk the Moon. So if you go listen to those songs, you'd be like, yeah. But my number one manifesting a bright and beautiful future, my number one song is Viva La Vida by Coldplay. And I don't know what it is. It's like the beat, and that song's so vibrant, and I just love it. And so a bajillion times I have done a visualization, meditation about a future goal or the life I'm going to have or how fun it's going to be or this, that, and the other thing to the song Viva La Vida. And I'll tell you,
I don't know what Vita, I know what the song is. Like, I think it is. I used to rule the world. I think that's it, right? I think, isn't it kind of like the downfall of something? Maybe that would be kind of ironic. But that's her number one manifesting song. And she's going to explain why that's her manifesting song and how the universe rewarded her. And she's going to talk about her boyfriend again, so beware. Of course. But how that song is basically was written for her, essentially.
that I had the most magical experience this summer to that song. And at the risk of sounding like the story I'm going to tell is like pretty douchey, I'm just going to let you know right now. But it wasn't something that I could even like have pulled off. It feels pretty divine to me. It's one of those experiences where I'm like, oh my God, the universe just hooked me up right now. So I had been doing, that had been my song for manifesting and visualizing. And then it was summertime.
Hold on, wait. I see, Miss Ocampo says, it's a song about a guy who lost everything. Oh my God. I thought that was like somewhat true. I remember listening to it when I was in like the early 2000s or like the mid 2000s and thinking like, yeah, those lyrics sound not like a manifesting song. Okay, interesting. All right, continue. Oh my God, your comments are so funny. I'm dying. Wait.
And if you haven't internet stalked and don't know this, my boyfriend is a tour manager and manages a pretty big artist. And they were...
If you didn't know that she has a boyfriend, for the 15th fucking time in this live stream, she has a boyfriend and he's a tour manager for a pretty big artist, which she basically says his name, I think, in this podcast, but Shawn Mendes. And in one of her Rach talks, she talks about Camila Cabello and how she knows her, so that's why she had to support her by watching Cinderella. So just a humble brag, NBD. She's like Rachel Hollis is queen of putting something out there that is like to make herself look really, really cool, and then using some self-deprecating humor or statement to make it seem like she's relatable. That like, I only go to the Oscars and look like crap. It's like, pfft, okay, cool, good for you. But she doesn't own it because I feel like she's, I don't know, she doesn't want to lose the relatability aspect, obviously.
In this big concert that had like so many artists, it was so sick. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I should go, because he was going to be in New York, and I'm like, oh, I should go. And my two oldest boys had never been to a concert before. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Like, I'm going to take Jackson and Sawyer. We're going to go to this concert, and Boo Thing's going to be there, and that'll be fun. And we like go to dinner and whatever. So it was telling him, I'm like, oh, I think I'm gonna take the boys and go to this concert. He was like, oh my God, like you're not buying tickets to this concert. Like well, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be difficult because I don't want to be trouble. And he was like, don't be dumb. Like, this is what I do. We'll take care of you. Like, you can go to this concert. So I'm like, okay, cool. So
I'm hearing some red flags about this relationship. And I've brought this up before, I think. Rachel tends to say that this boyfriend that she says is like the best guy ever, and he treats her so much better than Dave ever could. But the way she tells stories, there's some red flags, including this one. So if you didn't hear it, basically she says that she told her boyfriend that she was gonna buy a ticket to the concert that his performer was going to be at. So Shawn Mendes is going to be at this concert, and so therefore Rachel was going to take her her older two sons, to this concert, and she was going to buy the tickets. And he said, no, I'll do VIP for you, whatever, it's my job. But shouldn't he like invite her to that? You know, it almost seems like she invited herself, and he was being nice and saying, well, obviously I'm not going to have you pay, like this is literally my job and I get free tickets, like you can come, I guess. That's the vibe that I got from it. And then just another story that she tells in a way that I think she's not really quite seeing the red flag is when she, what was the story? Oh my God, it's in my head. I forgot. She told at Rise where she was wanting him to text her and he hadn't texted her all day or for a few hours, and that she started crying because she thought that she didn't love him or he didn't love her because he wasn't responding, and that, you know, they weren't communicating correctly. So she was upset all day long, and then he finally texted her and said, oh, I didn't know you wanted me to text you. And like, maybe that's not his fault, but also this relationship that is new within a year, I don't think it's even like a year old yet. Maybe it's like a year and a half. I don't know. I forget exactly, but it's fairly new. That there's all these communication errors and things, and it just seems like this is not the perfect man forever. And also his whole thing about, you know, spirituality and hippiness and all that, like he seems to be, that's what he's into, and now she's completely taking over that persona. It just seems like odd. But I will give him credit that he doesn't go on social media and talk incessantly like Dave and Heidi do, or Dave formerly at least. So, I messed up my screen. I don't know what happened. Oopsies. Oh, and I went to my other background. Okay, I don't know. I screwed up this whole background. Sorry, everybody. Now we're back in. This thing allows me to move it. Okay, we're back. We're going back.
We go to this concert, and it was pretty ridiculously, for these boys' first concert, like VIP to this insane show. I mean, you guys, this lineup was, I'm trying to even remember every artist who was performing. It was Lizzo. It was Jennifer Lopez. It was Shawn Mendes. It was Camila Cabello. It was, I'm like blanking on how many amazing people. It was one of those things where each artist does like 5 songs, and it was raising money for some. It was so freaking great. And there were like a billion more people I can't remember right now. And the headliner was Coldplay. So everyone is performing. Oh, Billie Eilish. I'm like, the names keep occurring to me.
Let me just say, personal side note, I saw Coldplay once, and I'm one of the most negative people ever, according to myself and people who know me. I've never been positive, really. I mean, I guess I have been in parts of my life, but honestly, when I was positive, worse things happened to me, and when I've been negative, better things have happened to me. So I manifested Coldplay tickets once because one of my friends, this guy, came up to her and was at this like tech conference that comes to town every year, and they buy out the whole arena, and they have like, we saw J-Lo. No, I didn't see J-Lo. J-Lo came one time, Lady Gaga came one time, and this guy met my friend, at a bar once, and every year he sends her tickets just for whatever reason. I don't know why, but she always gives them out to everybody, and it's free. And concession stands open, free, drinks are free. It's like the coolest event of the year. They canceled it the last 2 years, but before, I got to see Coldplay for free and eat chicken nuggets for free, and I'm super negative. So what does that mean? Explain that, universe. All right, going on.
Sick. And my boys definitely thought I was the coolest human ever, because here we are at this experience, and it's the end of the night, and
oh, sorry, yeah. She also says that they were fundraising for something. and she went for free. It's like, don't you have a giving heart? Aren't you like the most generous person ever? Why wouldn't you, I mean, maybe she did, but wouldn't you say that you gave like a giant donation to be appreciative, and therefore the Coldplay concert came to you? She kind of just like skirts about that. She was a fundraiser for something. Who cares? I got to see Coldplay. It's like, okay.
We were sort of wrapping up kind of before Coldplay had come on, because we were obviously there with a different crew, and so we needed to leave, and I was like really bummed because I really wanted to see Coldplay, and I love them, and I just thought, oh my God, Chris Martin's going to be amazing. I'd never seen them perform before, and it was like, oh hey, we're going to go out and we're going to watch Coldplay for a minute before we take off. And so I'm following this crew of people with my boys, and this crew of people that I'm following is like some of the biggest pop stars in the world. And they're just like, Mom, what are we doing here right now? And I'm like, you guys, I have literally no idea how we're here. And so we're walking out with this crew, and we're going to this, like, it's not even the VIP area. It's the, like, if you're a celebrity, you're in this area, so nobody will harass you. So it's right by the stage. It's this incredible view. And we listen to
this whole podcast, her whole life is a humble brag about what she gets to do and repurposing it as content. Again, I will say that for the millionth time of this live stream. That's all this is. How is this relevant to anything?
songs. Coldplay is freaking amazing. And it was like, okay, we have to go, because basically we're either leaving now or we're going to be stuck in this venue all night. So we're following them back out. And on the way back out, I'm walking by the stage, like I'm to the right of the stage, and they start playing Viva La Vida. And I was like, in my brain, I'm like, I will get left here. Like, I will miss the car that's going to take us out of this venue. I will leave this place. And I grab Jackson and Sawyer, and it's just the three of us on the side of the stage dancing our hearts out to Viva La Vida. And I have no idea how I am lucky enough to get to experience this moment, these incredible artists, this amazing energy. I'm getting to experience it with my children. And it is set to the soundtrack of this song I have been using to visualize for a year.
Well, once again, she credits the universe and her own generosity to a gift that a man in her life has given her. That seems to be the common denominator with all these stories. Like, how did you find yourself to be so successful? How did you do this? How did you do that? What's your mindset about this? It's like, the answer is find a partner with money, whether it's a boyfriend, whether it's a husband, whatever you got to do. Find yourself a person with some cashola that's willing to part with it to you. And also, isn't this like Dave should be the most, universally gifted person? Like, he gave a lot of his salary to Rachel's adventures and ventures. So wouldn't he have the generous heart or whatever? Or because he begrudgingly gave it to her, it doesn't count? I'm so confused. I don't know how to square any of this logic, because there is no logic. It's just Rachel Hollis story time once again about all the amazing adventures she had. And also, it's like the end of the story is like, okay, we got to dance our heart outs, and my kids were so happy with me, and they're so proud of me or whatever. And then they all clapped. That's what I'm expecting to hear at the end of this. And then everyone in the whole stadium turned to me and said, "You go, girl. You did it." Okay. Cool.
And it just was so magical. It wasn't like, oh, $1 billion or whatever. And honestly, you guys, the abundance, it never is $1 million. It's life experiences that are just divine. And I swear to you, without any...
Divine. It was divine, everybody. It was divine. It's like, it wasn't that the concert was listed, Coldplay was listed as, to be performing at this concert, where her boyfriend, performer, because he's a tour manager for Shawn Mendes, was also going to be performing, and that she took action and asked her boyfriend if she could go, or that she told him, oh, I'm going to buy tickets. And he said, no, I'll pay for the tickets, or I'll get you VIP tickets or whatever. So none of it is if she just was walking down the street and I don't forget his name, but the guy from Coldplay was just happened to walk by and she saw him and goes, oh my God, it's Chris or whatever his name is. And then he performed the song for her acoustically while she was, on a jog or something, while she was listening to it in her headphones, and she was just thinking about how much she loves Coldplay. That's one thing. But strategically choosing to go to a concert in which you know that the band is going to be playing, in which your boyfriend is part of the background crew or whatever, it's not that amazing. It's pretty much in line with what could happen to you at any given day. So it's like, wow, I just magically happened to have purchased this home. It's like, yeah, but you also called the realtor and set up the appointment and did all the paperwork and had the money to do it. And it's like, wow, the universe really delivered. Or you just did it yourself.
Conversation from me. Every time that song comes on, or every time it's on the radio or in passing, my 13-year-old always says, Mom, do you remember how this song came on and we stopped and we danced together by the side of the stage? Oh, I'd cry. It was magic. And I just, maybe I'm cheesy and maybe you disagree, but I just believe that when you believe there's goodness, when you believe in magic, when you believe that you're going to get experiences and you just keep putting energy, you keep practicing gratitude, you keep putting goodness out into the world and loving other people well, and you just get these moments. I understand that moment is pretty ridiculous, but I couldn't believe that all of these things just sort of came together like a key and a lock to allow me to have this beautiful experience with my kids, all set to the soundtrack of Coldplay. So maybe consider pulling some music into your visualization practice, because the most important thing when you are visualizing the outcome, the goal, the future that you want to create, it's not what you can see. It's what you feel while you're looking at it. Okay, guys, I really hope that was helpful. I really hope it gave you a couple ideas at least to chew on, and maybe those ideas will help you, get a book or listen to a different podcast, or maybe get another teacher, watch a YouTube video, just explore a bit more. If you enjoyed this, I would so appreciate if you would subscribe to the podcast. It really helps podcast hosts when you subscribe to their shows. And if you dug it, share it on social.
I don't want to subscribe because I think the universe has her back. So subscribing is pointless. I think we should only just let the universe take care of everything, because apparently she's doing great. Doesn't need any help from us lowly humanoids who aren't generous in our giving habits. I think she's doing just fine. Someone asked me what my song would be, my manifesting song. I guess Big Papa by Biggie. I have another one, but I don't know if I'll be demonetized for saying this because it is one of my favorite songs, but it's 3 bad words in one. I'll just say PMW by Lil Wayne. I can sing it, every word, verbatim. That would be my manifesting song, just because I think it's a good song. But anyways, so that's Rachel's money advice part 2. I learned nothing of value about money except that you should, if you find a wallet, you should aimlessly drive around waiting for the person to come pick it up, and also snoop on their finances while you have the wallet. And if they're hot, then plan to date them. But if they have a wife, I guess cancel those plans. Not sure. So let's take a look while we're together. And also, don't judge a book by its cover, because that person could be rich, and then you could be missing out on another relationship with a rich person. She came out with another Rach talk, and if everyone's interested still, we could watch that. I have not watched that yet, because I didn't see it came out until yesterday. So yes in the chat if you'd like to watch Rach talk. And like I said, the pattern for Rachel seems to be disappear, scandal, disappear, get back onto podcast, get back onto Rach Talk, announce live event where tickets are sold, and then depending on if the event goes well or not, disappear again and do the whole cycle all over again. So I think that's why she's resetting this Rach Talk so often, because she's got tickets to sell, and she knows that this is probably the only vehicle of people getting or liking her content, because the rest of it hasn't been doing very well. Okay, people are saying yes. All right, here we go. Let's read the description real quick so we all know what we're in for. Episode 2. She's calling this episode 2, which is interesting, I guess, because she said at one point there's different seasons of Rach Talk. That's not just one to episode 100. There's been like 10 episodes or whatever, or 1 to 10. Like she's starting, the season's over. So this is episode 2 of this chapter of Rachel Hollis Rach Talk. It is my reaction to Encanto. She already talked about Encanto, but okay. My reaction to Encanto, why kids don't wear jackets, fan mail prank. So she's becoming a prank YouTube channel. Wouldn't that be the ultimate full circle moment? Rachel Hollis becomes a prankster YouTube channel. Oh, Lord. Okay. Let's see.
Hey, guys.
It's working. Okay. She didn't say y'all. She says, hey, guys.
Hey guys, we're back with another episode of Rach Talk, and today I'm going to talk about my new obsession. It's the movie Encanto. Complaining about my kids and talking about other people's opinions and how we can let go of them.
Wow, she didn't say that in the description about other people's opinions. Interesting.
Okay, I have a whole list of things that I want to talk to you guys about because it's been a hot minute since we've hung out together in this format. And the first thing I want to talk about is, can someone explain to me what is my children's issue with wearing a coat when it's cold? Now, I remember being in like 6th grade or junior high, and I also didn't want to wear a coat because, first of all, the coat that my parents got me was so lame. We didn't have money, and it was, oh my word, like I always had a hand-me-down, but then this like one time my mom wanted to buy me a coat, and she like went to like, I mean, who even knows? It was probably like a Sears situation or Got Shocks.
Extra savings during Big Cheap.
She hates her parents so much. Oh my God. She can never take an opportunity not to trash her poor parents. And maybe her parents aren't good people. I don't know. But she, like, poor meaning monetarily poor. She will trash them. Oh my God.
Days at Gut Shops.
And she gets me this coat that looks like what you would dress a Victorian doll in, and was like, here's your winter coat. And I was like, oh my God. Okay, now I gotta wear this to school, when every other kid had the Adidas jacket with like the 3 stripes, and I was never gonna be that cool. That's not the point.
God, she's getting worse. I was having some faith. I was like, okay, maybe she's moved on from trashing her parents for being poor. Maybe she's moved on from talking about material possessions because she's now a thrifty hippie. No, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. As if like having a coat from your family is somehow like the worst thing that happened to her while she was growing up. It's like, oh God, box cake and a coat? How dare you, mother? But I don't know. She doesn't take any. She gives them no chill when it comes to her parents and them not having money. Absolutely not. Even though last time she said she loved getting socks on Christmas, like that was fun. She goes, I love getting socks on Christmas. Like, yeah, bullshit. You hate box cake from your, people baking you a cake for your birthday. You don't want the coat that your mom got. You want the Adidas, whatever. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, material girl. Whatever that song is on TikTok. That's what needs to be played behind this whole thing.
The point is, I remember not wanting to wear a coat, but you know what? I did because I wasn't dumb. Because it was freaking cold where I grew up, and I didn't want to catch hypothermia. My children, no concern for that. 30 degrees outside, my 15-year-old rolls downstairs in some shorts, okay? And like, if I insist upon it, they'll take a hoodie or something. But like, why do you think it's uncool for people to know that you're cold? Can someone...
Like, why are kids that age wearing shorts in the winter? I've seen that.
Oh my
elements with shorts.
Why my son and his friends wear shorts.
So basically what she's doing is showing that this is not an original thought that she's had. This is a documented thing that she's now going to speak to.
In January.
I mean, like, genuinely, because I know that we do have some teenagers, some middle schoolers who watch this on YouTube. Will you tell me? Will you clue us in? Like, if you're this person and it's cold and wintertime, but you won't wear a coat to school, will you just explain to me why?
And also she called her kids dumb because she's like, I wasn't dumb. I wore my ugly Sears coat. And that picture of her as a Victorian doll is going to haunt my dreams because that was terrifying. But she thinks her kids are stupid for not, and this is like a boy thing, I think. This is not a girl thing from what I remember, or I think, it's like a young teen boy thing. I don't know either why it is. It seems to be kind of like a thing, but maybe because they're hot. I don't know. This is stupid. Anyways.
Is it uncool to be cold? What is your... I don't get it. And now Noah has it. Her coat's over. She didn't want to take it today because brothers aren't wearing a coat. So why does she have to wear a coat? Oh, my word. I don't get it. It's wintertime. It's freezing. I want to wear a sleeping bag out in the world. Cover your arms. Cover your forearms. What are you doing? And let's get some pants on. Maybe some long johns. I don't know. We're not trying to catch a cold, guys.
Yeah, why don't you ask your own kids? Why don't you ask them why they want to wear the coat? She doesn't seem to have the answers. She just seems to think that they don't want to wear it. Maybe it's because they think it's ugly, like you thought your parents' coat was ugly, but they know that you got money and you know that your parents didn't. So you are forced to wear it and they want a different coat. But even so, it's like, teach your kids better. Make them a little bit more grateful. Gratitude journal. In her gratitude journal, what she says is the number one tip of her life to the manifest whatever. It's like, okay, well, what about that coat? I don't know. She's telling it. I mean, I know this is like, that was the past Rachel. This is a new Rachel, but she doesn't seem very grateful in retrospect either. That she's not saying, well, I did get a coat and I'm appreciative that I got it and it was, not my style, but I wore it anyways because no, she hated it. She hates her parents. They're poor. Ew, gross.
Also, we have to talk about Encanto. Have you seen it, Nicole? Oh, Jack, have you seen it? Jack, do you like Disney movies? Do you like joy? Do you like magic? Do you like things that are heartwarming? Do you have Disney Plus?
Oh, I did.
Oh my, guys, have you seen Encanto? I've seen Encanto 25 times. It came out on Christmas Eve, Jack, in case you're wondering how many times it's taken me in 6 weeks to see Encanto. Beloved, a masterpiece, joyful, happy, heartwarming, family-oriented, funny, a celebration of culture, and all the music is by one of my dream best friends, Lin-Manuel Miranda. LMM is what we call him in our inner circle. We don't. There's no inner circle, and nobody calls him that.
She's trying to recreate the Rock scenario now where she puts it out there to the universe that she's going to be friends with these people so that maybe someone writes an article about Rachel Hollis wants to be friends with Lin-Manuel Miranda. Ooh, exciting. That's weird.
It's so good. And not only is it so good, you will weep. Weep. And I have footage, Jack. I know, because so I saw it with my kids. I saw it in the theater. I loved it. We watched it again over Christmas. And then for New Year's, I went with my boyfriend to England and I was hanging out with his mom and his sister and his niece and nephew. And
we need to start. I want to make a checklist or like a bingo card. I've already made one. If you go to the Hollis Uncensored Reddit, I put a bingo card for like watching their content because there's so many repeated things that happen between the three of them, Rachel, Heidi, and Dave, that it was just like a fun little activity to put together. But Rachel mentioning her boyfriend is a huge one. We've talked about that in these two separate pieces of content. It's been mentioned at least 7 times, if not more. And then again, that he's English is a very important thing to her. I was hanging out with his mother. It almost makes it seem like she wants to tell everyone, like, it's serious. This is serious. Like, I'm hanging out with his mom. Like, this is not just any like booty call like Dave was. This is real. This is real, y'all. This is real, y'all. I'm live from England, y'all. Okay, let's continue.
And I was like, have you guys seen this? And they hadn't. So I was like, we have to watch this movie. Well, if you're only meeting someone for the second time ever, and, English people, they're a little bit more like official than we are. And I was hysterically crying
And it was like the 6th time I had seen this movie. I was hysterically crying. And his whole family is looking at me like, what is wrong with this person? No way.
I didn't see one tear in her eye. And also, she's got this footage now. She's trying to put footage that her boyfriend allegedly captures of her randomly. Like, she had footage in the last Rach talk of her jumping in the water, doing this, like, thing in England. If you didn't know, her boyfriend's from England. And it almost seems like she is bringing him kind of as the new Jack. So Jack is the guy who does her videos, like these professional videos, and edits them. And he also he also edited and created Dave's documentary that never came out to theaters or anywhere. I also saw that Jack was the director on that as well. So he's got Hollis code ties, basically. You know, I don't know if he works for them full-time or freelance now, who knows. But it almost seems like she's now employing her boyfriend to create some content, maybe to get him basically on the Dave Hollis path, because Dave used to be the behind the scenes guy too in their content, and then she started putting him front and center, and she's already doing that again, putting him in Instagram posts and such. So I wonder if this is like the workbook blueprint to get your boyfriend into your content by making him capture moments, very intimate moments that just happen to be on camera. To me, again, seems manufactured authenticity.
If I'm not going to spoil it, but the scene that kills me is, well, there's 2. 1, which I can't say because that will spoil it, and 2, at the end. I can't say what it is, but I'm just going to speak in code for those of us who have seen this magic so I don't spoil it for everybody else. Everybody in the family has one of these things, and then I can't because I'm gonna spoil it. Just the end, okay? The end, you guys. Oh my God. Also, how good is the music in that? I know every word. I can perform it. You don't want, okay, fine, Jack, fine, I'll perform it. Okay, fine. The number 1 song in this movie is a song called Surface Pressure. I felt like someone was writing, like I felt like Lynn had found my journal and was like processing my emotions, but giving it to an animated bodybuilder. This makes me so happy. Oh man.
I'm the strong one. I'm not nervous.
I'm the strong, of the earth is. Can we just let me have this moment real quick, Jack.
Rachel is as strong as the earth is. This song is so relatable to me because I am also strong as the earth is. She's like out of her mind. I was giving her way too much credit that she was less unhinged than she is now, but no, I think she's bad. I think she's more unhinged now than ever before, to be quite honest. I hate to say that. Well, I don't hate to say that. I like to say that, but I kind of am questioning myself, like, why was I guess because it was working a tiny, tiny bit where she was like giving a little bit of dribbles of information about how bad Dave was. I was like, well, I can see her point. Dave seems like he's got a lot to work on, whatever. Maybe she was reacting to that. Maybe so, but she is still on her own, regardless of Dave's influence, is got a lot of work to do before she can give other people advice. Yikes.
So I've been writing songs. I know. You'll hear more about that later.
What? Oh no. Rachel Hollis, the musical? Oh God, this is late breaking news, everybody. I told you I did not watch this yet. I swear I did not hear this. Writing songs. I mean, I support women supporting women, following your dreams, doing whatever. But your boyfriend happens to be a music profession guy, and now all of a sudden you're going to be writing songs? Come on. Pick something original. Here's a song. Here's a Rachel Hollis song. The universe has my back because I am the best. I give myself all the credit even when it was Maya Angelou's. And then I also want to say that my ex-husband is bad, but my new boyfriend is English. He's the best I ever had. Thank you. Hold on. Wait. Hold your applause. Hold your applause. Thank you. I did it. Okay. Well, I'll think of other songs too. Okay, that was a shock. What a moment. What a moment, everybody. This is what you get when you watch live streams on the internet. Okay, Rachel Hollis is a songwriter. Okay, all right. Let's get back to the action here.
It's a whole thing, okay? It's just a thing. It's a little side hobby I'm working on. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. It's a thing for me. But in learning how to write songs, because I wanted to learn how to write in a new genre, I thought it would be challenging, and it is. And am I going to write country music? You know I am. Doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is, in learning how to write lyrics with actual professional musicians, I now can hear things in songs that I hadn't heard before. And this isn't typical like a music moment, but it's so good. And I just want us all to hear it real quick, because I'm just, right now you could put a graphic that's like super nerding out over Lin-Manuel Miranda. So let me just set the scene, Jack. She's a bodybuilder, like it's a thing. She has superhuman strength, but she's like feeling a lot of pressure from the, you know, being the strong one in her family. I want you to catch this.
Very much like me, the strong one in the family. I'm nervous to play this because I know it's going to get, well, I don't know if it can detect the copyright in it. But maybe not, because she's playing it, I'm playing it. Maybe it won't pick it up. Let's just, fingers crossed, let's hope.
I'm the strong one. I'm not nervous. I'm as tough as the crust of the earth is.
The breath. The breath. By taking a breath, like there's a whole statement in her being like, honestly, I've like obsessed over this song, and I'm like, I'm gonna write a musical someday. I've just decided, everybody. Not now, like maybe in my 40s, but.
Okay, cool, yeah. That's definitely something that anybody could do. You know, just write a musical. You don't need any special training, girl. Just live your dream. Just do it. Relatable. Oh, we can call it relatable. Relatable the musical. I like it. I'm sure it's going to be based on her life, because literally everything is based on her life. Even her fiction books were based on her life. Was based on her experience as an event planner. So I'm sure the musical will be based on her journey into songwriting. And I'll remember this moment. And when it comes out in 2040, we can look back and I'll be like, see, I knew it. I knew it.
Hear the breath, Jack? She's stressed.
Hard the work is. Gotta rough it.
It's almost as if Pixar really does a good job with the work that they do. Only Rachel is able to pick up on this, though. You know, other normies don't understand the genius of songwriting or Pixar's dedication to storytelling. Only Rachel can appreciate that as a connoisseur of music now.
Indestructible surface, diamond and platinum. I find them platinum. I take what I'm handed. I break what's demanded. But under the surface, I feel the circus of tight.
I know you can only play like 10 seconds of that song or we get in trouble with YouTube, but oh, so good. So anyway, if you need to cry, if you need to laugh, if you need your heart to explode, if you need any of it, Encanto, it is on Disney Plus. This is not an ad, but if the Disney Corporation would like to sponsor me, we would love to have you.
Disney is never getting involved with another person named Hollis ever in their career. They've made the mistake one time. They ain't gonna do it again. Sorry, Rachel, ain't happening.
Will do anything. No, I'm just kidding. But if you could animate me, Jack, and like make me Minnie Mouse when I say that, that'd be great. I'm sure we won't get sued at all. You know what I Googled the other day? Swear. I literally Googled, can anyone be trained to sing? Well, like we're humans. We can like figure out anything. And forever I've been like, oh, if I could sing, then
Oh, forever, guys. She's been like this forever. Do you ever remember her one time, if you've been a follower of her before this whole thing came out? Or even me, who I've gone like way back, deep dive into her old stuff. One time she's mentioned singing ever before she met this boyfriend. One time. I don't remember. Maybe I don't have the whole biography, but she's acting like, I've been like wanting to do this forever. It's like, okay, sure.
I'd really be, but I can't sing. And then the other day I was like, Is that a limiting belief? Could I, now I don't think I could ever sing like Beyonce, but could I learn to sing in tune? Question mark, question mark. In order for my songwriting to be better, I am gonna learn how to play guitar, Jack. All right.
Cool. She's definitely not just doing what whatever man she's with does. She definitely has her own beliefs for sure. For sure. Definitely. This is reading really well.
So how would we describe this? Sometimes people send in mail to me, which I'm sure there is a P.O. box or something. I don't know how you send it, but I know that people do. And this was
What? You have no idea how people send you stuff? You just it just pops up on the screen. The magical elves send you. How do you know how to check it? Someone, your housekeeper, the toilet lady comes and the mailman. He just delivers the mail. He just delivers the mail. Oh, it's from my P.O. box. Oh, I can't relate. I'm sorry. I'm getting unhinged now because I'm shocked that she's going to be a singer-songwriter now. My God. How am I supposed to not do more content about her? The more that stuff comes up, the more that I'm forced to continue to cover this. She gives me so much. Her and Dave, both. And Heidi. It's never ending. I'm tired. Just kidding.
something that Molly, whoever Molly is, Molly sent this to me, and I'm open.
Okay, we're supposed to believe. Wait. We're supposed to believe that this came in the mail, Rachel. Rachel, there's literally there's no mailing anything. There's no label for a return address or anything. Does she not know how mail works? What, did she just put to Rach from Molly and put it in the mail and said, the universe deliver? Come on. We're really suspending reality here for this episode. Oh my God. I can't. From Molly. Wow. And she knew that her new name was the name that she's going by now, Rach. I'm sure this is not a planted envelope at all and won't somehow tie into something she's selling. Definitely not. This seems very authentic to me.
Whoever Molly is, Molly sent this to me, and I'm opening it. Also, while I'm getting this package open, I do want to make sure that you know about the podcast hotline. I'm going to post it below. We're going to put the number here. But
There's a podcast hotline, but I don't know how phones work. I have no idea. The phone just somehow magically rings for me and I answer it and I don't know. I can't even be bothered with phones. I don't know. It's like, oh my God. Sorry.
It's where people call in and ask me questions, tell me a great story. And a lot of times I do new podcast episodes about the questions that I got from y'all on hotline. So if you have anything, please don't just ask the questions in the comments, call in so I can make a whole podcast episode about it. Oh my God. This is so funny. Okay. I have to tell you, this is so effing funny. Okay.
No card, no context, just the thing came in the mail for her with no return address, and it just happens to be like, she was about to say, I was just, I'm assuming, thinking about salmon or something. Come on. This is so bad.
About 6 years ago, we got a gift basket for Christmas. My ex-husband got a gift basket for Christmas, and in that gift basket was this smoked salmon. And we had this whole family joke that, sorry, we're not salmon people, but we're like, who would want smoked salmon? There was wine and crackers and chocolate, all these amazing things, and then smoked salmon. We were like, that is disgusting. Who would want that? And then as a joke, on Christmas morning, I wrapped up this smoked salmon in this beautiful package, and it was under the tree for my sister. So she's opening this box, and it's so beautiful, and she opens it up, and inside is this container of smoked salmon. Honestly, this was 6 years ago. For 6 years, my sister and I have been sneaking this to each other. So I've had her husband like put it in their bed, so when she got in at night, like her feet hit it. She's had it shipped to other countries for me to open. Like, we have gotten so creative with this smoked salmon. And just the other day I was like, I wonder if Melody lost the smoked salmon. Like, I haven't seen it in so long. Okay, this is freaking hilarious. Also, it expired in 2017. So whatever we do, we're never gonna open whatever isn't, we're never opening this. It would be terrible. But that was well played, everybody. That was well played. If you want to send something into the show, so
What the fuck? What is she talking about? Oh my God. So it says from Molly, but it's really from her sister Melody. Sent her salmon because they got a gift basket, how relatable, when they were somewhere and no one likes smoked salmon. Cool, great story. So we're supposed to send you what? Monate hair products or something? Like, what do you want? We're supposed to send you like offerings? Flowers? What do you want? Your P.O. box that you don't know that exists, somehow it exists? Oh my God, I can't. This episode's crazy. I'm glad that we did this like as a live stream because this is insane. Whew, what a setup. That was wonderful.
that I can do an unboxing, an ungifting, whatever it's called. I really am partial to diamonds and Levi's, but kind of open to whatever, especially if you think it's funny, would be entertaining to other people watching, and we'll post the P.O. box below if you guys want to send it in. So I have had the honor of working with women all over the world for the last 10 years, whether that was in
apparently this is like the serious end of the show. I can't recover from all of what we have just witnessed during this episode. She's going to become, she hates her parents still, so that's confirmed that they did not provide her with a ritzier lifestyle. Got it. Then she talked about becoming a singer-songwriter and guitar player, that's her next career, and she's going to write a musical. Okay, shocked. Then she has fake mail delivered and tells a random story that makes absolutely no sense about how she and her sister don't like smoked salmon, but yet send it to each other in countries that they traveled to somehow. Sounds like a rich person prank. Oh, that's the prank. Okay, that's what it says in the description or in the title of this video, which was
in a blog.
Fan mail prank. Oh boy, this content has gone downhill. I can't. This is not good. It's, it's supposed to be less produced because it's not in the studio. They don't own the studio anymore. She does it from her home, obviously, but like, what? Doesn't have to be horrible. Doesn't have to be fake mail. Like, at least think about it. Like, she really thinks that her followers are idiots, which I guess maybe if they're there this long, they, I don't know. I'm not saying they're idiots. I'm just saying that maybe they would believe that this is a real envelope or a real story. But okay, she's got a P.O. box. That's what she wanted to say. Why can't you just say that? Why does there have to be a story involved that makes no sense and also tells you how rich you are at the same time? Well, because it's Rachel Hollis, that's why. All right. Now we're into the serious part because now she's talking about all the women she's helped over the years.
Blog or the books that I wrote, the podcasts that I've done, and it means that I sort of have a front row seat to some of the biggest issues that women face, right? Motherhood.
Totally. She totally has a front row seat to most of the issues that women face. Yeah, definitely, from her throne. Literally, she's on a throne right now.
And postpartum depression and issues with...
Okay, this is going to be a pitch to her event. I'm calling it now. Or something that she's selling because she's getting into the sales mindset. I got to restart it to that point. So, to where it goes. Okay, so this is the transition. I think this is the sales pitch. She just announced that she's got a P.O. box, she's got a podcast hotline. Okay, now we're getting to the sales tactic. That's my prediction. Just given her tone. Let's see though.
So I have had the honor of working with women all over the world for the last 10 years, whether that was in a blog or the books that I wrote, the podcasts that I've done. And it means that I sort of have a front row seat to some of the biggest issues that women face, right? Motherhood and postpartum depression and issues with body image. But if you ask me, the number one thing that negatively impacts women and keeps them from living the life of their dreams, that keeps them from elevating their experience, that keeps them from achieving anything or daring greatly, as Brene Brown would say, the number one thing is a fear of what other people will think of them if they try. Or more
Okay, disagree, but okay.
specifically, a fear of what other people will think of them if they try and fail. And I think most of us have examples of this in our life where, you know, we would write the book if only, we would try and do a podcast, we would start the business, we would go ask that girl out, we would, except we have this narrative in the back of our mind that tells us that something bad is going to happen if we fail. So recently I did a 2-part series on the podcast about how to stop caring what other people think. Seems kind of crazy, but you actually can. You can practice the habit to let go of the perceptions and the opinions of other people. And if you want to listen to that episode or watch it here on YouTube, it starts with episode 236. In part 1, we talk about what it feels like to go through this process internally. And then in part 2, we talk about what it feels like to go through this process externally, with the opinions of other people around you. I got a lot of really great feedback on these episodes, and if you haven't checked them out and you feel like this is an area that you struggle in, I think you're going to love it. So, like I said, check them out anywhere you get your podcasts or here on the YouTube channel. And wherever you go listen in, I'm just going to ask you to please subscribe so you get a notification every single time we post a new episode. If you dug this video, give it a thumbs up and be sure and comment. Let's keep this comment section positive. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me if you loved Encanto. Tell me
anything. I need the engagement, please.
how you wish you could stop caring about what other people think, and be sure and support each other. So don't just comment on yours.
Comment multiple times, please.
Comment on hers too and lift her up. All right, guys, I loved hanging out with you. I will see you again next week, every single Monday at 6 p.m. Central. And until then, remember, I love you and I'm rooting for you.
Oh my God, Heidi Powell's new symbol. If you didn't know, Heidi Powell has now taken this symbol and used it for herself. I can show you. Wow, what a whirlwind. What a whirlwind that was. Let's see. Let's check out Heidi Powell's Instagram these days. Oh boy. No, she's not, well, she only does it in emoji form now. Irrelevant. Oh man. Okay, well, I think that end, I was expecting it to pitch to like something more with money involved. But I know on YouTube, maybe she's trying to grow her YouTube. That seems to be a thing that the people, if you go into like a YouTube accelerator or something, they really push that you should, at the end of your video, tell people which one to watch so that they stay on your page for longer, and that will bring your stuff to more people. So for example, if I was like, if you like this video, you should go watch my other video that has 7 parts, the other playlist, so that you're encouraged to stay on and on and on, which is not bad. I think it's a strategy. I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, but I think maybe she's setting it up so that at the end of her Rach talk, she can pitch you on something, whether it's YouTube or I have a live event, because people just kept asking me in the comments for a live event. And like, she's going to get a P.O. box thing of a letter or something begging her to do a live event again. She's like, I guess I should. I guess it's not up to me. The universe told me that I have to do this. So therefore, here we are. So, yeah. I don't know. I was going to show you guys one more thing. This is from 2021. Rachel talks to CNBC about money, which I thought was relevant because she's talking about money on her podcast. Let's see, watch the videos she mentioned, please. Which ones? Which videos? Which ones? Peanut Forever. Okay, so just to get a different view of her money thing, it's a short article, so 2021. So that's already after basically her whole career was over, essentially, and she was already divorced and all that. So this is what her money advice was then. A look inside the wallet of New York Times bestselling author Rachel Hollis, plus the Jay-Z motto she lives by. I don't remember hearing about Jay-Z in this podcast, so this must be something new that she left out or she's changed since a year ago. Rachel Hollis, author of the New York Times bestseller Girl, Wash Your Face, opens up her wallet and shares financial advice, including a motto from Jay-Z. She opens up her wallet and apparently the wallets of strangers that she finds on the streets of Hawaii. Okay, Rachel Hollis hosts her own business podcast, has a notebook line at Target. She doesn't anymore, does she? I don't think so. And runs a lifestyle media company, which maybe she does or not. This seems old. While she attracts people from across the globe as a motivational speaker, Hollis is most well known for being the #1 New York Times bestselling author behind the self-help book, Girl, Wash Your Face. On the heels of launching her newest book, Didn't See That Coming, the Texas-based author caught up with CNBC Select to discuss what she carries in her wallet and the financial advice she lives by. Very exciting. Okay. What's in her wallet? A gift from one of her best girlfriends. Hollis's wallet contains some of the basics. 2 credit cards, 1 personal and 1 for business. A debit card, her AAA membership card, all the insurance cards for her plus her 4 kids, and a key card to her office, which apparently she no longer has. Having just traded in her California driver's license for a Texas one, her wallet also carries a paper placeholder until the new one arrives in the mail. I've lived in Texas for 2.5 years, but I just got my driver's license, Hollis tells CNBC. I did that because I was so desperate to make sure I was able to vote. Along with some coins, she also has $20 in cash stashed inside. Hollis admits loving her cashback rewards, but says she always carries cash when she travels. I worked in the service industry for a long time, so I'm a really big tipper. What job does she have in the service industry other than an event planner, which is not the same thing as being a waitress, I will say. Does she have a waitressing job that I don't know about? I know what it feels like to have someone tip you well. As an event planner, or what? In addition to the usual pocketbook belongings, Hollis also has a $75 gift card to a nice sushi restaurant in Austin and a memorable keepsake, a little medallion decorated with a guardian angel. It was a gift from a woman who came up to her at a book signing 8 years ago. Interesting. Weird place to put it in your wallet. The Jay-Z motto, Hollis, this is the real meat and potatoes of this article. The Jay-Z motto Hollis lives by. Jay-Z is known for incorporating financial tips into his song lyrics. He is even said to have once mentioned in an interview that if you can't buy something twice, you can't afford it. A motto Hollis lives by when it comes to managing her own money. I read that once, and I was like, that is the way I want to live my life, she says. Okay. Having steered clear from using credit cards until she got married. Okay, well, she was also a child before she got married. She was 19 when she got married, so I think she had 1 year in which she avoided using a credit card. It's not that impressive. Having steered clear from using credit cards until she got married, Hollis today is very cautious about how she spends money, especially on her credit card to avoid debt. Well, that doesn't seem very in line with the abundance mindset that she told us all to have. She should have $0, basically. She should have maxed out her credit cards on donations to Goodwill or something, because that apparently is the key to success, just spending all your money on others. I am really terrified of anyone having a credit card to be something that gives them money they don't actually have. Interesting. Her #1 rule is to never buy things on her credit card that she can't afford in cash. This way, she can pay off her balance in full every month and never pay high interest. Well, whoop-de-doo! What an amazing concept that is. Thank you, Rachel. Hollis even teaches Jay-Z's motto to her young kids and instills early on the importance of saving up for a big purchase, such as a laptop or device. Quote, I just really believe there's incredible value in anticipation and building up to something, she says. If you haven't started saving, it's never too late. You don't need much money to open up a high-yield savings account. Look for one that doesn't require a deposit to sign up for any monthly maintenance, blah, blah, blah. And then it's pitching you on basically an account you can buy. Cool. So I didn't hear believe, achieve, succeed in this article, but apparently that's advice for her core audience, not for the CNBCs of the world. Anyways, what a whirlwind. So I guess we're gonna have to be on the lookout for Rachel Hollis's musical and theatrical forthcoming career. I guess we'll also have to watch Rach Talk next week, on Monday at 6 p.m. Central. It's a weird time, but all right. I don't know. The more, like I said, I wasn't going to do this because I thought, like, okay, part 2 is probably just going to be a regurgitation of the first part, and maybe she'll talk about some other stuff that's unrelated. She didn't mention Dave in this one. Maybe they have an agreement that she's not allowed to mention him anymore or what, but, you know, the last couple podcasts was like anti-Dave, and now it's kind of forget about Dave. It's weird. No resolution in any of this. But that's someone said like the Hollis or Rachel verse. I call it Hollisville because there was an article about Dave's book, Get Out of Your Own Way, where the reporter called it Hollisville, and I was like, that's perfect. So that's why I call it Hollisville. And I'm reading your comments just to see what you guys are talking about. I know. That's what I was saying. How do you tip an event planner? I don't think she was making it seem like, of course, that she was, a waitress or something. The only thing I remember she did was work at fucking Miramax, which is also like a pretty cool, not cool, maybe it sucked, but it was still not a job like working at Chili's in, Sacramento or something. She acts like, oh, I'm just like everyone else. I'm just working in the service industry. It's like, we know what you mean by that, and it's not what you actually did. Yeah, I totally agree with everybody. Her actual wallet. All right, I'm getting tired. I've been standing in the Rach Talk studio all day, and the cleaning crew's here. The crew that cleans my toilets in the Rach Talk studios here. So, I got to give them a lesson on financial security by giving them dollars and making them not beg for it, but wish for it or something. I don't know. All right. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. We'll do this again. I'll try to be more, I don't know. I've been so far just popping on whenever and just showing up whenever I feel like it, but maybe one day we'll have a schedule that's more concrete. But if you are free on Thursday, I'll show you before we leave our final PS thought. If you are loving this content and you like the format, I'll show you. You can follow Cringefluencers. It's a different channel. Basically, we just do live streams with Camelia and I. Apparently, I've been pronouncing her name wrong this whole time. Camelia, like Amelia with a C in front of it. Camelia. I was calling her Camila, which is not correct. Camelia, or Cam, and I, we do it together on Thursdays, usually at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. if you're in Romania, like her. And we talk about a variety of topics, cringefluencers, people who are influential, so influencers, but also people in the space, creators online. I don't know what we're going to talk about this week. We haven't decided yet, but one of the things I want to talk about is that crypto couple who stole billions of dollars, and she's got a burgeoning rap career, or I guess it's now done, rap career, Razzle Khan. I think that'll be fun to talk about. Or Brittany Dawn is also on the list to talk about because she's getting sued by the Texas AG. So there's lots to talk about in the cringefluencer space. So if you'd like that, we'll be there. I'll be there. Hopefully you'll be there, and we'll chat again. But until then, so long. I'm going to put the end credits back down. It'll do a countdown, but for really no reason. All right. Toodaloo.